Chapter 408, Fate's Cruel Teasing. At this moment, Wang Lin went crazy. He wasn't able to move his body, but his origin soul was still free. Although his origin soul couldn't leave his body, his domain still existed. The figure of a giant ancient god appeared in the sky and grabbed the life and death scroll. With one shake, the scroll opened completely. In an instant, a thick strand of gray gas came out of the life and death scroll. It didn't move toward the giant hand but fused with the figure of the ancient god. The ancient god figure trembled, and an aura similar to the Heaven's Messenger-S appeared. It coldly looked at the Heaven's Messenger-S arm before grabbing it and viciously pulling it back. The Heaven's Messenger that had only showed its face was dragged out from the void by the ancient god. A strange scene occurred in the sky as two giant figures appeared. Wang Lin's eyes were like lightning right now. When he saw the Heaven's Messenger, he was startled. The Heaven's Messenger-S body was almost no different from an ancient goddess body, but what shocked Wang Lin were the 7 shining stars on the Messenger-S head. However, 3 of the stars seemed to be sealed. They were much dimmer than the rest. When Wang Lin saw this, an unbelief thought came to his mind. This is the real reincarnation cycle. When he first saw the Heaven's Messenger, he didn't question it. But after seeing it again, he suddenly thought, the reincarnation cycle is in law of the heavens. It should be ethereal. Why would a messenger exist? And this messenger was an ancient god. Everything he saw today was outside of Wang Lin's imagination. He questioned what exactly was the heaven's law. After the Heaven's Messenger was pulled, he opened his eyes for the first time and revealed an expression other than cold indifference. It was confusion. He stared at the figure of the ancient god before opening his mouth as if he wanted to speak, but in the end he closed it. His body moved, and his giant hand quickly swung toward the ancient god formed by Wang Lin's domain. Boom! This sound echoed through the heavens and earth. Everything within 5,000 kilometers of here was already shattered, and now it was shattering even more. Wang Lin clearly saw the ground within 5,000 kilometers suddenly cave in, forming a giant hole. The only place that didn't collapse was the center of the hole where Zhou Ru was. Now it looked like Zhou Ru was on top of a tower. Zhou Ru's body was emitting a gentle, white light. The ancient god formed by Wang Lin's domain was knocked back several steps by the Heaven's Messenger. Wang Lin's body trembled as blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. His origin soul was about to collapse. But he knew that if he couldn't withstand this, then Li Muwan's nascent soul was going to die. The ancient god formed by Wang Lin's domain rushed forward and punched the Heaven's Messenger. Bang, bang, bang! One punch after another caused the entire moon to shake and more blood to seep from his mouth. At this moment, the force holding Wang Lin weakened, so he grasped the opportunity and quickly let out a growl and broke free. Die! Wang Lin let out a roar as he jumped into the air and punched the Heaven's Messenger. A hint of confusion appeared in the Heaven's Messenger's eyes as he swung his right arm and sent Wang Lin flying like a meteor. However, Wang Lin's punch also landed and caused the Heaven's Messenger to stagger back several steps. The ancient god figure quickly took a few steps to catch up to the Heaven's Messenger and attacked once more. Wang Lin's body quickly returned. As he licked the blood from the corner of his lips, his eyes became filled with battle intent. He and the ancient god formed from his domain battled the Heaven's Messenger. The messenger kept on getting pushed back. Only 4 of the stars on his forehead were shining, meaning his current power was only that of a 4-star ancient god. You are not of my clan, the Heaven's Messenger talked for the first time. A normal cultivator wouldn't be able to understand him at all because he spoke in the ancient god's language. It was indeed as he said. Wang Lin at this moment couldn't be considered an ancient god. Ancient gods never had internal cultivation, and from ancient history to now, no ancient god ever had a domain. It doesn't matter if I am or not, I want to agree to you taking Li Muwan's nascent soul away. Wang Lin shouted back, in the ancient god's language as he threw a punch. The Heaven's Messenger was forced back once more. The ancient god figure quickly followed up on that attack. The white light surrounding Zhou Ru became stronger and stronger. A voice suddenly came from inside Zhou Ru. Wang Lin, you lied to me. This was a voice Wang Lin hadn't heard in 19 years. It belonged to Li Muwan. Wang Lin's body trembled as he suddenly turned around. He was grief-stricken by what he saw. Why are you? What he saw was the white light around Zhou becoming as bright as it possibly could. Her soul was pushed out of her body and then surrounded by the white light before gently landing on the side. Wang Lin wants to see you and be with you, but I am supposed to be dead. It is simply too cruel to her if the price of me awakening is to devour her soul. I felt this child grow up over these past 19 years. Looking at her is like seeing my own child. Big brother Wang, I don't have the heart to do it. Wan is very dumb. I let you down. The moment Li Muan awakened, she stopped devouring Zhouru's soul and used the power of her nascent soul to push Zhouru's soul out of her body. Without Zhouru's soul, her body was surrounded by a death aura. The moment Li Muan's nascent soul awakened, it was exposed to the heaven's law. This caused it to slowly collapse. Wang Lin quickly arrived beside Zhouru's body and pointed at her brow. At that moment, Li Muan's nascent soul slowly flew out of Zhouru's body. She opened her eyes, looked at Wang Lin, and revealed the same gentle gaze from 19 years ago. Li Muan softly said, "Promise me to take good care of yourself." She raised her hand to feel Wang Lin's body temperature. But right when she was about to touch him, her hand became transparent. A trace of sadness appeared on her face. She looked at Wang Lin and whispered, "Zhou is only a child. Don't make it difficult for her. This is my own choice." At this moment, the heaven's messenger moved past the ancient god figure and arrived beside Wang Lin. It reached out toward the wheel and messed with it. The power of the reincarnation cycle reappeared once more. A powerful suction force came from the wheel toward Li Muan. Wang Lin suddenly raised his head. His eyes became extremely cold as he said, "Without my permission, forget the fact that you aren't even the real heaven's law, but even if you were, don't think you can take her away?" He pointed at his brow and the heaven-defying bead appeared. With a wave of his hand, Li Muan's nascent soul went into the heaven-defying bead, and the heaven-defying bead went back inside his body. The heaven's messenger shot a thoughtful look at Wang Lin. His eyes were filled with confusion. Then his body slowly disappeared, and in the blink of an eye, the clouds and wheel also disappeared. Wang Lin stared at Zhouru's body and began to laugh like crazy. His laugh was filled with sadness and madness. I, Wang Lin, have fought against the heavens and twice fought against the reincarnation cycle, but I didn't expect to lose to the heaven's will in the end. The heaven's will is cruel. Wang Lin pointed at Zhouru's soul and placed it back inside her body. Then he jumped into the air as he laughed madly, leaving behind only echoes of his sad laughter. After Wang Lin left, Little White carefully flew over. He was originally sealed by Wang Lin, but during the battle with the heaven's messenger, the seal shattered, allowing him to escape. Only after he saw Wang Lin leave did he dare to come over. His eyes were filled with sadness as he licked Zhouru's small face. Zhou muttered to herself, "Little White, stop messing around, I want to sleep." Little White was startled. He immediately let out a happy growl and then picked up Zhou by her clothes and took her far away. A crazy person appeared on the moon. His hair was all over the place, and he would often say the two words, "Heaven's will." Whenever a beast blocked him, it would die. Heaven's will I, Wang Lin, won against the heaven's law but was played by the heaven's will. A year later, on a rainy night at the eastern part of the moon, a crazy person stood on top of a tall mountain. The rain came crashing toward the ground. It landed on his body and flowed down his cheeks before falling to the ground. What is life? What is death? I, Wang Lin, have spent my life on the path of slaughter and comprehended the heaven's law when I turned into a mortal. I saw life and death as death. This rain is born in the sky and dies when it hits the earth. Thanks to Senior Zhou Yi's obsession, the celestial female corpse awakened. The emotions are between the two, how if he lives she dies and if he dies she lives. All of this allowed me to understand the meaning of seeing life not as life and seeing death not as death. Surviving through a disaster allowed me to see the changes in life. Zhou tipping between life and death, Wan Era's death and life and death. It was the heaven's will that finally allowed I, Wang Lin, to see life still as life and death still as death. After 19 years of time. Wang Er, thank you for allowing me to understand I should let things that are lost in the world stay lost and those that still exist to remain existing. This rain was born in the sky, but doesn't die when it hits the earth. On the earth, it will gain new life. It will help plants grow, and then it will turn into clouds once more. This change is life, I can let go of my parents' soul and your departure. In truth, I wasn't filial to my parents, and to you I have always been neglectful. Although this emotion is real, it was more of a sense of duty because I was moved. Wang Lin's parents' souls flew out from his brow. They gently gazed at him as they slowly disappeared. They didn't die but entered a different realm of life. Leo holds a stuffed bear close to his chest, muttering prayers for likes on the video, sprinkling followers in his shares, as the children beside him start to crave. Chapter 409, Dao Heart. Little White, where's Uncle? Jo-Ru was sitting on Little White's back with a bunch of fruits in her hands. Little White shook his big head and let out a growl in response. Ever since Jo-Ru had woken up 1 year ago, she hadn't seen Wang Lin. Only Little White accompanied her. Little White was currently carrying Jo-Ru as they walked through a mountain range. At this moment, the ground suddenly began to tremble. Little White let out a low growl as he backed up a couple dozen feet. The ground began to shake even more violently, and then suddenly a life form that looked like a worm but countless times larger sprang out of the ground. It let out a roar and pointed its head at Jo-Ru. The part of this creature that was above ground was already over 100 feet tall. Its entire body was red and had bamboo-like sections. It looked very terrifying. There was no fear on Jo-Ru's face, though. Instead, there was some excitement. She threw the fruits away, hit Little White's head, and said, Little White, you have to look carefully. Whether we can find Uncle or not depends on this. Little White rolled his eyes and let out a roar at the giant worm. The more than 100 feet long worm moved. It opened its large mouth and charged toward Jo-Ru. It moved very fast and they could smell its fishy breath as it approached. There were also countless sharp teeth in its mouth. If one were to get caught by that mouth, there wouldn't be any bones left. There wasn't any trace of fear in Jo-Ru's face. She instead became more and more excited. Her large eyes weren't even looking at the giant worm, and instead she raised her head to look at the sky. Even Little White didn't retreat another step. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. Just at the moment that the giant worm charged forth, a giant figure appeared in the sky. This figure let out a humming sound and then arrived beside Jo-Ru at an unimaginable speed. It was a giant mosquito. Its sharp mouth quickly stabbed into the worm. With a swing, the worm's entire body was dragged out from underground and thrown into the air. At this moment, the mosquito moved again and in a flash stabbed its sharp mouth into the head of the worm. Then all of the worm's blood was sucked dry by the mosquito. The mosquito threw the worm to the side. Then he looked at Jo-Ru and Little White before flying off into the distance. Jo-Ru quickly shouted, Little White, chase, quickly chase. Little White didn't hesitate and immediately started running. Wang Lin let out the mosquito beast 1 year ago to protect Jo-Ru. He didn't want to see Jo-Ru, but he wouldn't just leave her alone on this dangerous moon. During this past year, the mosquito had saved Jo-Ru countless times. At first Jo-Ru was scared of the mosquito, but now she felt a sense of familiarity toward him. Whenever she saw him, it was like she was seeing Wang Lin. She had no memory of what happened 1 year ago, and she also had no memory of having a nascent soul in her body. It was as if it had never happened. Wang Lin wiped away those memories when he returned her soul to her body. Jo-Ru was an innocent child. She shouldn't have to suffer for Li Muan's failed awakening. Wang Lin wasn't the type to blame others in anger, and he wanted to let her live a full life. However, Wang Lin's heart was still thinking about what happened 1 year ago, so he didn't want to face Jo-Ru. This feeling was very complicated for him. Jo-Ru felt very bad for not being able to see Uncle, so she started her journey to find him. The moon was very small to Wang Lin, but very big to her. During this year, she and Little White had traveled across more than half of the moon. Although she hadn't seen Wang Lin once, she felt like she was getting closer to her uncle. Unfortunately, Little White was far too slow compared to the mosquito, so the mosquito's figure soon disappeared into the distance. However, Jo-Ru knew that the moment she meets danger again, that big mosquito will rush over. That big mosquito flies too fast. Little White, you too slow. Jo-Ru pouted as she looked into the sky. Little White let out a roar filled with grievance. He thought, that mosquito is flying in the sky. If it were running on the ground, I'd definitely be faster. Jo-Ru was about to continue speaking when a gentle breeze landed on her, sending a surge of warmth through her body. Joru was startled as she looked around and whispered, "Little white, don't you think this is strange? Every 3 to 5 days there is this warm breeze. Each time it lands on me, I feel warmth travel through my whole body, and then I want to feel hungry even if I don't to eat." Little White shook his head and let out a low growl as a response. Joru's journey continued. What she didn't know was that Wang Lin was at the top of the mountain with his divine sense withdrawn. During this past year, although he had gone crazy, he didn't forget about Joru's safety. He would spread out his divine sense every few days to check on Joru's condition, and then send some spiritual energy into her body to prevent her from getting hungry. Wang Lin raised his head toward the sky. His eyes were currently very bright. Wang Lin had never had this type of gaze before. It was a gaze that could penetrate the heart and see through life and death. So the domain of life and death is like this: the things in this world. If I want to control them, then I can. Wang Lin's right hand reached forth and all the clouds before him gathered toward his palm. Soon, a small ball made of clouds appeared in his hand. This ball of clouds was filled with lightning. Feeling the immense power inside the ball, Wang Lin let out a deep breath. Although this ball of clouds couldn't destroy the heavens, it could kill any soul formation cultivator. If the soul transformation Li Yuanfeng were to revive, he would be destroyed by this ball as well. The life and death domain has reached completion, and my cultivation has broken through the soul formation stage. I only need one more step to reach the soul transformation stage. I have already taken half of that step. Wang Lin waved his right hand, and the ball of clouds disappeared. I need to prepare to reach the soul transformation stage. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. Soul transformation cultivators can be considered a real powerhouse. It is said that soul transformation cultivators are wanted by many on any cultivation planet. The giant demon clan ancestor was merely at the early stage of soul transformation, but it allowed him to control an entire clan and become their leader. Li Yuanfeng was raised to the soul transformation stage by force, but became the pillar of Shui Yue. One could see the value of a soul transformation cultivator. After all, the ascendant old monsters were always in closed-door cultivation, and there were far too few of them. Thus, soul transformation cultivators become the real backbone of any power. If we put it in the context of the mortal martial arts world, they would be the top-class experts that are admired by everyone. Among cultivators, the significance of these people are amplified by more than 1,000-fold. This was a soul transformation cultivator. Even Tianyunzi never would have expected that the little cultivator who he had good a feeling about that was on the edge of the soul formation stage would be preparing to enter the soul transformation stage only 200 years later. If Tianyunzi knew this, then Wang Lin wouldn't merely be an honorary disciple for 100 years. He would become a real disciple with certain privileges. C2, once I reach the soul transformation stage, I'll have the power to awaken you. Wang Lin took a deep breath as he pointed at his brow. Shortly after, his body began to disappear as he went inside the heaven-defying bead. Inside the heaven-defying bead, Situ Nan's large soul was floating there. Wang Lin appeared next to it and silently stared at it. After absorbing the two arms, Situ Nan's soul was no longer transparent. It was now more solid. His soul gave off a powerful pressure. This pressure was several times stronger than Ancestor Du Tian's. Situ Wang Lin silently stared at Situ Nan for a very long time before taking a step and appearing in the eastern part of the heaven-defying bead. There was another nascent soul here. However, this nascent soul's eyes were closed as if she were sleeping. She was surrounded by spirit liquid that continuously entered her soul to provide her with energy. Wang Lin's eyes became gentle. The spirit liquid surrounding Wang was the dew from the heaven-defying bead. Wang Lin had gathered this dew over the past year. Its purpose was to help repair Li Muan's nascent soul, and with the passage of time, it will make her nascent soul even stronger. Wan, you waited for me for 300 years. I, Wang Lin, have no way to repay you. I'll protect your nascent soul until you awaken, until my death. Wang Lin looked at Li Muan's nascent soul for a very long time. If everything I do can be exchanged for a chance at a miracle, then I'll wait 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years until my death. Wang Lin looked tenderly at Li Muan as memories of the past flashed across his mind. Memories are like water in your palm. It doesn't matter whether you have your hand open or if it's holding it tightly, it will still leak drop by drop until it's all gone. However, The coolness of the water is unforgettable. Wang Lin walked up and gently kissed her forehead. His warmth was slowly transmitted to Wan Er's body trembled. She felt Wang Lin's lips and his warmth. This warmth contained an unerasable joy, a silent call, and a sense of protection that will never fade. Love is like a river. The left shore is the joyous laughter that can brighten up 1,000 years of sadness, and the right shore is an eternal silence lingering under the candlelight. What flows between them is years of fading loneliness. Wang Lin turned around and left the heaven-defying bead. Although he left the heaven-defying bead, his heart remained there for all of eternity. On the top of the mountain, under the starlight in the middle of the night, the lonely figure under the rain seems like it is about to be shattered by the wind. The uncertain sadness is what always gets blown away by the wind, but the loneliness of having no family or friends is the fire that the wind can never extinguish. The lonely figure raised his well-structured face to face the darkness in the sky, to face the brightness of the stars. There he saw the figure of a woman that will forever remain in his heart. Leo's birthday has passed. Thank you all for your blessings, your praise. Leo will continue to strive, producing increasingly captivating chapters. Brothers, keep your sharp tongues sheathed, stored away carefully. Chapter 410, Soul Transformation. 1. Joru's journey to find Uncle continued. She had no idea why Uncle left, so she wanted to find Wang Lin and ask him for the reason. At this moment, Wang Lin was on top of a mountain, with all of the celestial jades he owned on the ground around him. While sitting in the middle of the circle, he put aside all other thoughts in his mind and concentrated on cultivating. The current Wang Lin's cultivation level had reached the peak of the soul formation stage, and his domain had reached completion, so now he needed to break through to the soul transformation stage. The soul transformation stage is a goal all cultivators pursue. Once they reach the soul transformation stage, their domains can materialize, causing its power to reach an unimaginable degree. Aside from that, they will be able to absorb celestial spiritual energy. This means that all of their techniques and spells will contain celestial spiritual energy, making them infinitely more powerful. In ancient times, before the celestial realm collapsed, a soul transformation cultivator wasn't a rare sight. However, now that the celestial realm has collapsed, a soul transformation cultivator is a powerhouse. The key to breaking through from the soul formation stage to the soul transformation stage is the amount of celestial jades. The more celestial jades there are, the more dense the celestial spiritual energy will be, and therefore the chance of breaking through to the soul transformation will be higher. Of course, one's domain plays a large role in reaching the soul transformation stage as well. If one's domain doesn't reach completion, then that person will have no hopes of ever reaching the soul transformation stage. Comprehension of the laws of the heavens is of great importance for a soul transformation cultivator. Wang Lin's comprehension of the heavens law was different from others. After seeing that the heavens messenger was an ancient god, he developed a hint of doubt. What is the heavens law? Wang Lin's earlier understanding was that the heavens law was a natural law that has always existed, like the law of destruction. No one can replace the heavens law. Cultivators merely go against the heavens law and break free from it. No one thinks that they can replace or control the heavens law. However, after Wang Lin saw the ancient god, his understanding of the heavens law underwent a subtle change. There was a mystery before him, but with his current understanding, he couldn't comprehend all of it. Heavens law, interesting. Wang Lin's eyes sparkled. He took a deep breath and opened all the pores in his body to absorb the celestial spiritual energy from the celestial jades around him. When Wang Lin went to the celestial realm, he was able to obtain quite a few celestial jades. These celestial jades became the driving force for Wang Lin to reach the soul transformation stage. At this moment, a powerful surge of celestial spiritual energy entered Wang Lin's body. Compared to the last few times he absorbed celestial spiritual energy, it was a lot less painful this time. The celestial spiritual energy surged into him and suppressed the spiritual energy in his body. The two different forces were like fire and water as they began a life and death battle in his body. Wang Lin's body had a lot of spiritual energy. So at first, when only a bit of celestial spiritual energy entered his body, it was immediately beaten back. However, as time passed and more celestial spiritual energy entered his body, the spiritual energy could no longer hold the celestial spiritual energy back. Although there was still much more spiritual energy than celestial spiritual energy, the difference in quality was too high. A strand of celestial spiritual energy was equal to all of the spiritual energy of a core formation cultivator. As a result, the spiritual energy was naturally pushed back. When a soul formation cultivator becomes a soul transformation cultivator, their spiritual energy will go through one of two types of changes. The first one is all the spiritual energy is pushed out of one's body, and then, when it contains only celestial spiritual energy, the body transformations and breaks through to the soul transformation. This method is relatively easy, and it is what most cultivators choose to do. However, all of that spiritual energy is wasted and will have to be cultivated back. Also, their cultivation at the early stage of soul transformation ends up being unstable. This method also requires a cultivator to go into closed-door cultivation for 100 years to adjust their body. The second method is to refine the spiritual energy in one's body until it reaches the same quality as celestial spiritual energy. This method is very difficult as the spiritual energy needs to be refined constantly. But once it succeeds, it gives one a great advantage during the early stage of soul transformation. One need to go into closed-door cultivation for 100 years, and they will still have the same result. The advantage of the second method is to save 100 years of closed-door cultivation, and naturally this increases cultivation speed by a lot. Wang Lin chose the second method. After all, he didn't have the time to go into 100 years of closed-door cultivation. The spiritual energy in his body was being compressed by the celestial spiritual energy. The compressed spiritual energy then slowly gathered at this dantian. Next, celestial spiritual energy would course through the veins around his dantian. This was a process of transformation. The celestial spiritual energy was like a mill grinding the spiritual energy inside Wang Lin's body to refine it to the point that it could fuse with the celestial spiritual energy. This process was very slow. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Wang Lin still hadn't moved. 2-3 of the celestial jades around him had turned gray, and some of them had already shattered. Not enough. Wang Lin's eyes suddenly opened. There seemed to be celestial spiritual energy moving inside his eyes. Right now he looked like a celestial. Although the amount of celestial jades Wang Lin had couldn't compared to what the big sects had, it was still a lot. But looking at it now, it was far from enough to reach the soul transformation stage. He had only gone through 1% of the transformation, and the spiritual energy in his body was only compressed but hadn't fused yet. Wang Lin muttered to himself, "No wonder there are so few soul transformation cultivators." The amount of celestial jades needed to reach the soul transformation stage is something even some big sects can handle. No wonder. The giant demon clan ancestor used resources from the entire clan and all of the celestial jades Chi-Hu had brought back to finally reach the soul transformation stage. This only succeeded because the giant demon clan also had a large stock of celestial jades from when their clan moved to planet Suzaku. In truth, the giant demon clan ancestor could have reached the soul transformation stage a long time ago, but they simply didn't have enough celestial jades, so it was delayed until recently. It has to be said that celestial jades aren't solely used for breaking through the soul formation stage to the soul transformation stage. Once a cultivator is above the soul transformation stage, they need celestial jades to fight, to heal, and even to refine treasures. Rumor has it that the number of celestial jades required to reach the ascendant stage is tens of thousands of times greater than the amount needed to reach the soul transformation stage. Then for the level above that, the amount is just unimaginable. The only place to get celestial jades is the celestial realm. After the celestial realm collapsed, the celestial veins disappeared, causing the amount of celestial jades to be very limited. Thus, one can easily imagine the value of a celestial jade. In the current cultivation world, the more time passes, the fewer high-level cultivators there will be as it's getting harder to find the resources to cultivate. 1 month later, all of Wang Lin's celestial jades had shattered, and there wasn't any more celestial spiritual energy left. He had to stop his absorption. The pagoda has a lot of celestial spiritual energy, but since I promised Zhou Yi that I would protect the celestial corpse, I can have any ideas about the pagoda. Wang Lin stood up and looked into the distance. His divine sense spread out and covered most of the moon. After completing 1% of the conversion, his divine sense was also stronger. The soul refining sect must have a lot of celestial jades saved up. The other sects, almost certainly have some as well I can ask, so I'll have to steal them. I must reach the soul transformation stage. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and then his body disappeared. Zhou Ru was spiritless. While riding on Little White's back, she looked at the vast plain before her, leaving me all alone here while he went to do God knows what. It's so infuriating. Zhou Ru held a fruit in her hand and took a big bite. Little Ru. A familiar voice entered Zhou Ru's ears. She was startled and immediately turned around. Behind her, Wang Lin's familiar figure slowly appeared. Uncle? Zhou Ru's face was filled with joy as she jumped off Little White. In a few steps, she arrived before Wang Lin and jumped into his arms. Zhou Ru was no longer a little girl. The current her was already 20 years old. Uncle, where did you go? You left me all by myself. Zhou Ru's eyes turned red. In Wang Lin's eyes, she was still a child. He gently patted her head, and his eyes contained a hint of complex emotion as he smiled. Uncle went out to deal with some matters and now I am finished. Little Ru, do you miss your parents? I'll take you home. Zhou Ru wiped away her tears and happily said, We're going to leave. Okay. Wang Lin looked at Zhou Ru. He personally watched this child grow up just like Daniu. He slapped his bag of holding and the pagoda flew out and landed on the side. After Zhou Ru saw the pagoda, she pouted and said, Uncle, I remember when I was little I almost starved to death inside the pagoda. Wang Lin waved his right hand, and a large amount of fruits from the moon filled the pagoda. After Zhou Ru and Little White entered the pagoda, Wang Lin looked toward the sky. A black dot slowly got bigger and bigger until it was revealed to be the mosquito beast. It let out a roar as it landed before Wang Lin with joy in its eyes. Its large mouth licked Wang Lin all over. It clearly missed Wang Lin a lot. Let us go, we are going home. Wang Lin patted the mosquito beast before jumping on its back. The mosquito beast let out a roar and then it charged into the sky. In the void, Wang Lin took out the star compass and put away the mosquito beast as he flew toward planet Suzaku. Celestial jades. I need celestial jades. Wang Lin's eyes sparkled as the star compass flew toward planet Suzaku like lightning. The moon was never far from planet Suzaku, so after only half a month, planet Suzaku was already before Wang Lin. What's this? Wang Lin frowned after scanning planet Suzaku. He could feel a powerful aura from the planet. This aura came from a giant plant made of black fog. This is the Forsaken Immortal clan. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as he charged into planet Suzaku like a meteor. Breaking through the atmosphere of the planet, the star compass descended as fast as lightning. He saw about 10 cultivators in life and death battles not far away, and he knew one of them. Leo truly didn't realize today was May 20th. Leo's already married, not caring about this day at all. Truly no intention. Truly no intention. I'm already married. Yes, just like that. CHIRP, CHIRP, CHIRP. Chapter 411, An Old Friend. Wang Lin's eyes became serious as he charged over like lightning. Although Wang Zhuo's appearance was that of an old man, Wang Lin was still able to recognize him at a glance. Wang Zhuo's heart was filled with sorrow. Along the way, more than half of their group of a dozen had died. He had gone through these kinds of battles almost every day, and he felt the shadow of death getting darker and darker. The surrounding countries had all lost. They were either destroyed or became vassals of the Forsaken Immortal clan. Rank 3 cultivation countries weren't the main battleground for the Forsaken Immortal clan. They were merely places for them to train their weaker clan members. The country of Suzaku didn't care too much about rank 3 cultivation countries. At first they only sent some early-stage soul formation cultivators over, but as the war raged on they pulled out all their messengers and completely gave up on the rank cultivation countries. In the eyes of the country of Suzaku, nascent soul cultivators were simply too weak. Wang Lin let out a bitter smile as he watched another fellow sect member die. He watched the 4 Forsaken Immortal clan members, who clearly had the power of late-stage core formation cultivators, not kill them, but instead chase them around. Just at this moment, a meteor raced across from the sky, giving off a terrifying aura. The 4 Forsaken Immortal clan members were shocked and immediately looked over. In almost an instant, the meteor disappeared and someone with long white hair arrived from the distance with only a few steps. The 4 Forsaken Immortal clan members' expressions changed. The 4 of them realized that this man with white hair gave off an aura that made them tremble. They only ever felt this kind of aura from the 7-leaf shamans in their clan. Soul transformation. One of the 4 Forsaken clan members trembled and exclaimed. Without any hesitation, he turned around and ran. The other 3 quickly followed him. Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he slapped his bag of holding to let the mosquito beast out. The mosquito didn't even wait for an order before charging out after the 4. Screams could be heard from the distance as the 4 of them became dinner for the mosquito. All of this happened too fast, so fast that Wang Zhuo and company were completely dumbfounded. Wang Lin turned around toward Wang Zhuo and smiled. Wang Zhuo, do you recognize me? Senior you Wang Zhuo was startled and immediately recognized Wang Lin as the person who had reached the soul formation stage at Hengyu Mountain. Wang Lin shook his head and said, we haven't met for many years and you have already reached the late stage of core formation. That is worthy of celebration. Forget it, I'll help you break through to the nascent soul stage. With that, Wang Lin pointed to the spot between Wang Zhuo's eyebrows. The seal in Wang Zhuo's mind was removed as all the memories of his past life flooded into him, causing him to pass out. Wang Lin blandly looked at Wang Zhuo's fellow sect members. All of them but one were at the early stage of core formation while the last person was at the mid-stage. That person also had one of the spirit seeds Wang Lin had left behind. Wang Lin asked, where are you guys going? The person who had the spirit seed was an old man. His body trembled as Wang Lin looked at him, and he said, about 10 of us juniors were sent to the country of Lin to help them. However, they lost to the Forsaken Immortal clan, so we are killing our way back to Zhao. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding. A jade flew out and he injected a bit of his domain inside it. He threw the jade to the old man and said, take this jade. It can keep you guys safe until you reach Zhao. Go. The old man held the jade like a treasure and bowed many times toward Wang Lin. To him, this jade was his life. Wang Lin waved his right hand to grab Wang Zhuo, and then they disappeared. The old man took a deep breath and then bowed deeply toward where Wang Lin had disappeared to. This bow was in good faith without any other thoughts. A middle-aged burly man on the side carefully asked, Marshal Uncle, who is that senior? The old man's eyes were filled with reminiscence as he said, he is my country of Zhao's only soul formation cultivator. Soul formation cultivator, he is someone from Zhao? The middle-aged man took a deep breath. You should have heard of his name before the old man flew away and the other members of his sect quickly followed. Wang Lin. His name is Wang Lin. The moment the words Wang Lin came out, everyone else, including the burly man, trembled and their eyes became filled with terror. In the cultivation world of Zhao, the name Wang Lin represented heaven-piercing killing intent and a world-ending catastrophe. On that day, blood flowed like a river, and the land of Zhao was dyed red from blood. No one could forget that day. Even to this day, the calamity the Tang family faced was still passed down in Zhao's cultivation world. It forever remained in people's hearts and became the goal of many young cultivators. On the top of a mountain, Wang Zhuo slowly awakened. His eyes were filled with confusion at first, but it slowly disappeared. Then he calmly looked at the white figure standing beside him. Wang Lin, a bitter voice came from Wang Zhuo. Wang Zhuo. Wang Lin turned around and smiled. Wang Zhuo stared at Wang Lin as memories of the past rushed into his head until the moment where his wife died by his hand. Then he let out a sigh. Thank you. Wang Lin shook his head and said, only you and I are left from the old Wang clan. There is no need to thank me. Wang Zhuo hesitated a bit, then asked, what cultivation level are you at? Could you have reached the soul transformation stage? I haven't reached the soul transformation stage just yet. Wang Lin looked into the distance. Time passed by so quickly I still remember us at the Hengyu sect alas Wang Zhuo sighed. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he asked, Wang Zhuo, what happened on planet Suzaku in the last several years? How did the Forsaken Immortal clan appear here? Wang Zhuo was startled and asked, you don't know? Wang Lin shook his head. I wasn't on planet Suzaku for the last 7 years. Wang Zhuo's heart shook. Although Wang Lin had casually said it, it sounded insane to him. Not on planet Suzaku, that meant that Wang Lin's cultivation could break through the atmosphere. Wang Zhuo took a deep breath and told Wang Lin everything he knew. Wang Lin's expression remained calm, but his heart was in turmoil. The Forsaken Immortal clan had invaded, and almost all rank cultivation countries had fallen. Rank 4 cultivation countries weren't safe either. The country of Suzaku was resisting in full force, but they were still being pushed back. The corpse sect was helping the Forsaken Immortal clan in full force, and 5 rank 4 cultivation countries had betrayed Suzaku. The Forsaken Immortal clan had already occupied half of planet Suzaku. Wang Zhuo said, "Rumor has it that the Forsaken Immortal clan sent out 9 people and 5 of their identities have already been exposed. There are still 4 left, but no one knows who they are. They must be at a rank 5 or higher cultivation countries and probably hold very high positions." Wang Lin pondered. He never thought that in just a few short years such a big change would occur. Soul Refining Sect. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He had to quickly return to the Soul Refining Sect to see if there were any changes there. Wang Zhuo's information was mostly rumors and not facts, so he didn't know anything about the Soul Refining Sect. Wang Zhuo pondered a bit and slowly asked, "Wang Lin, can you go back to Zhao and save it from danger? Also, our Wang family still has descendants living in Zhao. In these past several years, I have been secretly taking care of them. I was hoping that mortals wouldn't get mixed up in the war, but while I was away, I heard that the Forsaken Immortal clan was looking for mortals with spirit roots. I am worried that the Wang family might have a child with a spirit root who will catch the Immortal Forsaken clan's attention. Sadly, I haven't been home in many years, so I don't know if there is anyone like that in the family." Planet Suzaku, country of Zhao, a rainy night. A horse carriage was galloping away outside the capital of Zhao. A bold, burly man sat at the front of the carriage and snapped his whip. Yeah. He looked very anxious and kept looking behind him. As the horses felt pain from the whip, they let out neighs and ran even faster. "Mother, where are we going?" The tender voice of a child came from inside the carriage. "Mother will take you to our ancestral home. Only there will you be safe," a gentle and enchanting voice answered the child from inside the carriage. This voice also contained a hint of anxiety. The child named Yu continued to say, "Mother, I was studying with the 3rd prince yesterday, and he told me that Zhao is very dangerous right now. It seems like someone is fighting with those immortals." "Mother, is it like that?" "Yu take a rest. Don't ask so many questions." A man's deep voice came from inside the carriage. There were 3 people inside the carriage, a couple and their child. The woman was wearing a court dress. She was very beautiful, and the beauty spot at the corner of her mouth gave her even more charm. The man's robe was made of python skin. He gave off an oppressing aura without even being angry. He had been in a high position for a very long time, so he gained a certain aura. As for the child, she looked to be around 6 or 7 years old. Her cheeks were slightly pink, and her skin was very white. She was very cute. The inside of the carriage suddenly became very quiet. The only sound that could be heard was the driver shouting and the sound of the rain. Yu obediently nodded. She felt tired, so she slowly fell asleep in the woman's arms. "My lord," Yu the woman's eyes turned red and couldn't continue. The man let out a sigh and slowly said, "All of the immortals in the capital have returned to their sects to prepare for battle. The invaders are very powerful, and as far as I know, the immortals of Zhao were defeated and have gathered in one place." The woman wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and whispered, "Why are those people looking everywhere for children?" The man took a deep breath and bitterly smiled. "Last night, I secretly talked with the king and found that they are looking for children with the qualifications to become immortals. I am afraid that they have something big planned. Alas, if only great-grandfather was here, everything would be better." Leo continues to read. Today is Monday, wishing for just a few more likes and followers for the VIDEO channel. Chapter 412, Remaining Treasure. The woman's eyes lit up as she said, "Great-grandfather is an odd person. Even the other immortals in the capital have to be respectful to him. Sadly, we can find him. I'm afraid great-grandfather doesn't have time to bother with us. His sect has probably been attacked by those invaders too. Now the only hope left is the ancestral home." The man sighed as his gaze fell on the child. Inside the capital, 3 children had already been taken away by the invaders. Whether they were alive or dead was uncertain. Yu was the 4th, and this man had done everything he could to save his child. The woman looked at the sleeping child and whispered, "My lord, what is so special about the ancestral home?" The man pondered for a bit before shaking his head and saying, "I don't know what is so special about it." only that an immortal ancestor once left a message saying that if my Wang family faces great calamity, come to the ancestral home and smear the family blood on something. I was told that doing so could save our lives. The woman was startled. She had been married to him for many years but had never heard of this. It was said that before my Wang family entered the capital, an immortal countless times more powerful than great-grandfather appeared. No one could stop him. The ancestral home has something he left behind. The man's eyes lit up. Even stronger than great-grandfather, the woman's eyes were filled with disbelief as she asked, "Is that immortal ancestor still alive?" The man pondered a bit and uncertainly said, "Great-grandfather has lived for over 200 years. The immortal ancestor should be able to live even longer, so he should still be alive." The woman's eyes lit up and she quickly said, "If that immortal ancestor can help us, then you will be safe." The man shook his head and bitterly smiled. "It is only a rumor. No one knows whether it is true or false." However, the man pondered. The woman quickly asked, "What is it?" "The records of my Wang family state that, 200 years ago, there was a powerful family that existed in both the mortal and the immortal worlds of Zhao. That family was named Tang. The Tang family was so powerful that all the immortals had to take orders from them, and the kings of the mortal world had to bow to them. The Tang family was the mortal enemy of my Wang family." The man's voice echoed in the carriage. Then, overnight, the Tang family was wiped out. All of their family members were killed. It is rumored that the person that wiped them out was that immortal ancestor. The carriage moved very quickly, and 3 days later they arrived at a manor. This manor was not very large. 200 years ago, it was still part of a village before it was bought by the Wang family. It still remained the same as 200 years ago. After the carriage stopped, the bald, burly man jumped off the carriage with a tired expression. He opened the door and respectfully said, "My lord, we have arrived." The man got off the carriage and looked at the manor with a hint of reminiscence in his eyes. "During my childhood, I lived here for 1 year with my father. In the blink of an eye, 30 years have passed, but this place hasn't changed at all." The woman followed him off the carriage. Had her big eyes opened as he looked at the manor. "Follow me," the man said with a deep tone and walked forward. There weren't any servants in the manor, only some elderly people. These elders were the most devoted followers of the Wang family. Although they were all white-haired, their eyes were still filled with life. One look from them could cause anyone's heart to tremble. That bald man felt terrified when he saw these elderly people. He felt like any one of them could defeat him in one move. His eyes suddenly locked onto one of the old men. After recognizing the item in his hand, he was startled and immediately recognized who the old man was. This old man was the #1 expert in the martial arts world. The man didn't say a word as he walked deep into the manor. Deep inside was a very normal-looking house. Curiously asked, "Dad, is this our ancestral home?" The man nodded. He was about to speak when a thunderous roar came from the distance. Then 2 men with tattoos covering parts of their bodies suddenly appeared above the manor. One of them gloomily looked at the people below him and said, "You guys sure ran fast." The man's expression quickly changed. He quickly got in front of his wife and bitterly said, "Honored immortals, your battles are with the other immortals. Why make it so difficult for us mortals?" The surrounding elders stared at the two in the air with eyes like lightning. The one with the gloomy expression coldly looked at the man and reached out. His goal today was the child with the spirit root. Just at this moment, all the surrounding elders let out roars and blocked the man. However, their bodies weren't able to resist, so they all coughed out blood and then were thrown to the side. The man's expression greatly changed. He quickly grabbed his wife and child and dragged them into the ancestral home. After entering the ancestral home, cold sweat covered the man's forehead. His eyes were bloodshot as he quickly pressed a series of tablets, causing a secret compartment to open. He immediately bit his finger and used blood to draw a symbol in the secret compartment. This symbol was something every generation's family head had to carve into their mind when they become the family head. Just at this moment, with a bang, the wall of the ancestral home turned to dust as the gloomy-looking person walked in. The woman got in front of her child with a look of despair on her face. At this moment, the place where the man had drawn the symbol released a mysterious light and a piece of jade floated out from the secret compartment. A mysterious power quickly surrounded the area. The gloomy-looking person's expression suddenly changed. He revealed a look of disbelief and quickly backed away. His buddy in the air also noticed the mysterious power and was about to go investigate. But just at this moment, the piece of jade flashed. The gloomy-looking person let out a miserable scream as the vein on his forehead bulged and he quickly backed away. Terror filled his eyes. He could feel a destructive aura coming from the jade. This aura was something even his clan's four-leaf members couldn't resist. But once the jade was activated, the gloomy-looking person had no chance of survival with his cultivation level. The jade flashed once, and the gloomy-looking person coughed out blood as he was pushed out of the ancestral home. He fell to the ground and immediately died. His buddy, who was about to go investigate, suddenly stopped and immediately turned around to escape. He could feel an aura that he stood no chance against coming from inside the house. However, before he got far, the jade flashed once more. He coughed out a large mouthful of blood and fell from the sky, dead. This strange scene caused the three inside the ancestral home to be completely shocked. The man muttered to himself, "The rumors are true." The jade Wang Lin had left here contained a tiny piece of his Ji realm. With his cultivation back then, any nascent soul cultivator would immediately die before it. Right now, at the bottom of the Hengyu mountain outside the Tiandao sect, most of Zhao's cultivators were gathered. Their faces were filled with anger as they stared into the distance. They were all staring at a lone person floating in the air. A large portion of this person's body was covered in tattoos. Just by standing there, he emitted a powerful aura. A husky voice came from that person. "This cultivation country is indeed interesting. Do you guys think there is some treasure here that will allow you to reverse the situation?" A white-haired old man wearing a black robe walked out from the Tiandao sect. He stared at the forsaken immortal clan member with hatred in his eyes and said, "You can try." The person let out a laugh as his eyes lit up and his aura revealed its true strength. His tattoos moved until they eventually left his body and formed dragons that flew around him. "Interesting. I wasn't sent here to deal with you lowly cultivators. I was just passing by. However, since you asked, I now want to see what kind of treasure makes you guys so confident." His eyes revealed a look of disdain. As a six-leaf shaman, unless he meets a late-stage soul formation cultivator, no one else is a threat to him. He didn't believe that a late-stage soul formation cultivator would exist in a mere rank cultivation country. With one step, he closed in on the Tiandao sect. The dragons around him all let out roars and flew toward the Tiandao sect. The tattooed dragons moved like lightning. All of the remaining cultivators of Zhao held their breaths as they looked on, and their eyes all revealed a mysterious light. There was a rumor that a native Zhao cultivator reached the soul formation stage here 200 years ago. The rumor said that he had left behind a wood carving, and anyone who obtains it can become his direct disciple. The place that the wood carving was kept was surrounded by a piece of his divine sense. If there was no fated person, it wouldn't open up. But if Zhao was facing great calamity, this carving would release a huge power. The moment the dragons closed in, the entire Hengyu mountain shook as a wood carving flew into the sky. The moment the wood carving appeared, the dragons charging forth trembled, and the eyes of the man from the forsaken immortal clan revealed a mysterious light. So, there is a treasure with a hint of a domain in it, left behind by a soul formation cultivator. However, this soul formation cultivator's cultivation level is too low, only at the early stage of soul formation. Even if he personally comes, I can still kill him right here, so how could a treasure stop me? After the old man from the forsaken immortal clan finished speaking, the mysterious light in his eyes disappeared, and they once more filled with disdain. "Leo has a nasal inflammation, and a cold again. My nose is just like a running faucet, frustrated." Chapter Ancestor. As he spoke, he pointed at the carving with his right hand. The tattoo dragons charged toward the wood carving, creating sonic booms. The cultivators of Zhao that had gathered here all looked toward the wood carving. The carving was a symbol of hope and was extremely respected in Zhao. The carving gently trembled and shined brightly. Then a ring of light extended from it and collided with the tattoo dragons. Boom, boom. With a series of bangs, the tattoos that formed the dragons became unstable and weakened. Eventually, a majority of the tattoo dragons shattered and disappeared. The remaining tattoo dragons all became smaller by one size. The cultivators of Zhao all became excited when they saw this. "What's this? This carving is indeed interesting. It would be a waste to destroy it." The forsaken immortal clan member's eyes lit up as he waved his hand and several ancient-looking tattoos appeared. These tattoos circled around him as he took a step and walked forward. The wood carving lit up once more. The ring of light expanded and touched the tattoos around the Forsaken Immortal clan member. The ring of light trembled violently, but it wasn't able to resist and in the end dissipated. With one step, the Forsaken Immortal clan member arrived at the top of Hengyu Mountain. He reached out and was about to grab the wood carving. But the light from the wood carving suddenly became so blinding that it lit up the whole area, but the disdain in the Forsaken Immortal clan member's eyes was still there. He reached out and pressed down on the wood carving. Even if your owner personally comes, I'll still take it when I want to. The man picked up the wood carving, took a look at it, and smiled. This is indeed a treasure. If there is a chance in the future, I want to see the junior that left this carving. The entire Hengyu Mountain became silent. All of the cultivators silently pondered. Their symbol of hope was so easily taken. It seemed like the destruction of Zhao was inevitable. The disdain in the Forsaken Immortal clan old man's eyes became even stronger as he slowly said, looking on the fact that I got this treasure, I won't be too hard on you guys. Give up and become a subservient of my Forsaken Immortal clan. I can promise you that it is much better than being under the country of Suzaku. My wood carving is not something you can take. A calm voice came from the void, and shortly after, two figures appeared. The Forsaken Immortal clan old man suddenly turned around and looked behind him with a terrified expression on his face. What terrified him was that someone was able to sneak up on him without him noticing. The two people that appeared from the void were Wang Lin and Wang Zhuo. The moment the two of them appeared, some of the cultivators of Zhao recognized Wang Lin. Ancestor! One shout of excitement after another came from the cultivators below. Soon, these shouts seemed to be the only sound left in the world. Ancestor Wang Lin let out a faint smile and nodded. The shouting became even louder. The Forsaken Immortal clan old man's expression was very ugly. The disdain in his eyes had long disappeared and was replaced with deep sense of dread. Sir, he opened his mouth to speak, but was immediately cut off by Wang Lin. Hand back my wood carving. Although Wang Lin's tone was bland, it contained a powerful aura. The Forsaken Immortal clan old man's expression was gloomy. At a glance, this person looked like he was at the peak of the late stage of soul formation. However, upon closer inspection, he could feel a mysterious power inside this person. He had heard of this power from seniors in the clan. This power was the sign of a soul transformation cultivator. After pondering a bit, he threw the wood carving toward Wang Lin without any hesitation. The moment Wang Lin raised his hand to catch the wood carving, the old man shouted, "Tattoos explode!" In the blink of an eye, a large amount of tattoos came from the wood carving and exploded, creating a powerful force. Wang Lin remained calm and pointed at the explosion with his right hand. The explosion was surrounded by a mysterious force and compressed into a small ball. The ball was filled with smoke and contained the explosive power of all those tattoos. The Forsaken Immortal clan old man's expression changed greatly. He never would have thought that his attack would be so easily blocked by Wang Lin. Soul transformation, he bitterly muttered to himself before turning around without any hesitation to escape. He knew that he stood no chance against a soul transformation cultivator. Unlucky. I can believe a rank 3 cultivation country's ancestor is a soul formation old monster. How did I get so unlucky to run into someone like this? The Forsaken Immortal clan old man's heart felt bitter. Just as he was about to leave, the sky darkened. A loud, tearing sound could be heard, and a huge spatial rift appeared to block his escape. This old man stopped in terror. Did I let you leave? Wang Lin coldly looked at the person before placing a new divine sense into the wood carving. He threw the wood carving, and it sank back into Hengyu Mountain. The old man's expression was gloomy as he slowly said, "Sir, according to the agreement, the country of Suzaku gave up all rank 3 cultivation countries for us to delay our attack on rank cultivation countries. Do you want to break that agreement?" Wang Lin frowned and asked, "Who made the agreement with you, Zhuqizi?" The old man was startled. He glanced at Wang Lin and said, "Since Sir is a soul formation cultivator, you must know Qianfang. It was him who represented Zhuqizi and signed the agreement with our young master." Qianfang. Wang Lin's eyes became serious. He had heard this name twice, once from Lu Mei and the second time was now. Wang Lin coldly said, "Ridiculous!" He raised his right hand and pointed at the ball that contained the power of the explosion. The ball turned into a shadow as it flew toward the Forsaken Immortal clan old man. The old man's expression changed greatly as he pointed at his brow. A green light shined from his forehead. A giant plant with 6 leaves grew from the light and collided with the ball. Boom! The old man was forced back and coughed out blood. Not only did the plant coming out of his forehead not get injured, it shined even brighter. However, he didn't want to fight. As he backed up, he took out a purple stick. He used the stick to create ripples in the space before him, and he was about to charge into a ripple. The purple stick he used was a branch from the reincarnation tree. The Forsaken Immortal clan has a special method to use branches of the reincarnation tree to teleport back to the main reincarnation tree. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. He calmly raised his right hand and said, "Absorb." With the old man as the center, all of the clouds in the area gathered to form a ring, and it quickly shrank until it was only 30 feet wide. The old man's face was filled with terror. The ripple that contained the power to teleport him lost its effect and collapsed. A powerful pressure came from all sides and landed on his body in the blink of an eye. He felt despair that he had never felt before. The panic in his eyes deepened as his hand formed a strange sign over his chest. He pressed down over his chest and clawed 10 bloody streaks. A large amount of blood sprayed out, and then the plant on his forehead absorbed the blood like crazy. The planet grew rapidly and filled the entire ring. The old man's face was fierce as he shouted, "If you kill me, there will be a lingering tattoo curse on you. If my clan's ancestors see it, they will kill you." The vein on his forehead was bulging. Although his life plant was already out, it was still unable to resist the pressure coming from the ring. Waves of cracking sounds could be heard as the 30-foot wide ring shrank to 10 feet wide. The branches from the plant shattered one by one. Every time a branch shattered, the old man coughed out blood, and his face became a bit paler. Wang Lin was still calm, and he even smiled. "I have already killed quite a few Forsaken Immortal clan members. Is this the tattoo curse that you speak of?" Wang Lin pointed at his chest, and 5 balls of gray gas appeared. These 5 balls of gas formed 5 flashing tattoos. When he was attempting to reach the soul transformation stage, he felt these 5 masses of gray gas hidden in his body. They normally wouldn't do any harm. In fact, they helped his spiritual energy move more smoothly. That old man stared at the 5 balls of gray gas and his face turned pale. He could feel the aura of a 6-leaf shaman from the 5 balls of gray gas. The person who cast the curse was definitely killed by this person. Wang Lin calmly glanced at the old man as his right hand reached out and closed. The ring quickly shrank and the old man let out a series of miserable groans. The plant with 6 leaves was crushed, and as the ring shrank, the old man was crushed into a ball of flesh and blood. The ring disappeared and the ball of flesh and blood turned into a cloud of bloody mist. With Wang Lin's cultivation level, killing this person was as easy as blowing off dust. He didn't even need to use magic treasures. After all, his domain was different from other soul formation cultivators, and it already contained some celestial spiritual energy. The current him was half a step into the soul transformation stage. The moment he obtains enough celestial jades, he will reach the soul transformation stage. However, there were simply too few celestial jades. Wang Lin looked at where the Forsaken Immortal clan old man died and began to ponder. Zhuke wouldn't he make a deal with the Forsaken Immortal clan? This is strange. There is also Qian Feng. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. These past few days without wishing for likes on the video, the like button for the video has quickly fallen to 10th. Urgently wishing for your readers to flip through and see if there's a like button for the video left unpressed. Chapter Wealth. All of the cultivators in the Tiandao sect were very excited. They all looked at Wang Lin with respect. The white-haired old man walked out from the crowd. He bowed toward Wang Lin and respectfully said, "Junior Zhen Fengzhao of the Tiandao sect greets ancestor." "Greeting ancestor!" The moment the old man finished speaking, all the other cultivators also greeted Wang Lin. This sound was very loud and spread very far. Wang Lin shook his head and said, "I'm not your ancestor." The old man took a deep breath and respectfully said, "You became the ancestor of all cultivators in Zhao when you reached the soul formation stage 200 years ago in the Tiandao sect. I hope Ancestor 1T reject the title." Wang Lin let out a sigh and looked at the land of Zhao. This was where he grew up. Now that more than 500 years had passed, he still recalled the past. Sometimes it felt like the last 500 years were just a dream. "Lord Ancestor, If you aren't in a rush, please stay at the Tiandao sect for a few days, so that the juniors can pay their respects. The old man's eyes were filled with fanaticism and respect. Wang Lin pondered a bit. At this moment Wang Zhuo sighed and said, Wang Lin, stay in Zhao for a few days. Don't you want to see fourth uncle's descendants? The old man looked at Wang Zhuo with a startled expression. Wang Zhuo was one of the most talented disciples of the Tiandao sect, so he naturally knew who he was. But what he had just said was a bit weird. The old man took a closer look and found that something was wrong, although Wang Zhuo looked exactly the same. His eyes were no longer the eyes of Wang Zhuo of the Tiandao sect. They now displayed the passage of time. Wang Zhuo smiled at the old man and sent him a message using voice transmission. The old man's body trembled after hearing it, and he looked at Wang Lin with disbelief. He knew that this wasn't a lie, so he let out a bitter smile and respectfully said, Greetings, ancestor. Zhang Fengxiao, you were a disciple I personally brought to the Tiandao sect. Back then you were still a young man, yet in a blink of an eye, so many years have passed. Wang Zhuo let out a sigh. Zhang Fengxiao bitterly nodded. He was still trying to comprehend what he had just heard. Wang Lin stayed at the Tiandao sect. Aside from a few people from each sect, all of the remaining cultivators of Zhao returned to their own sects. In the Tiandao sect, Wang Lin gave a lecture on Dao to all the core formation cultivators. This left a mark of Dao on them that drastically increased their chances of reaching the nascent soul stage. He did the same for the few nascent soul cultivators. He held nothing back as he told them about his experiences when reaching the soul formation stage. From that day on, they were no longer confused and had a clear path. 3 days later, Wang Lin and Wang Zhuo left the Tiandao sect. Before Wang Lin left, he placed down a formation for the Tiandao sect. It would keep out all soul formation cultivators. Only soul transformation cultivators could break it. For a rank cultivation country to have a formation like this was unprecedented. Normally, only a rank cultivation country would have such a powerful sect protection formation. After doing this one last thing for Zhao, Wang Lin no longer had any more worries about the country that raised him. He then followed Wang Zhuo to silently look at the Wang family descendants. Then, in the ancestral home, Wang Lin saw Yu Er and her parents. Upon seeing Yu Er, it reminded Wang Lin of Daniu and Zhou Ru when they were kids. He felt melancholy at this moment. Wang Zhuo took Yu Er as a disciple and passed down cultivation methods to her. Before Wang Lin left, he took away the Ji realm from the jade in the ancestral home and replaced it with his divine sense. Wang Zhuo didn't return to the Tiandao sect, but stayed with the Wang family in the capital. 200 years ago, he was placed into a pregnant woman in the Wang family. He had remained physically close to the Wang family in both his past and current lives, so his feelings for them were far stronger than Wang Lin's. He intended to dedicate his life to protect the Wang family descendants. The matter with the country of Zhao was finished. However, Wang Lin still had one lingering thought, the Hengyu sect. This was the sect that set him onto the path of cultivation. Before he left Zhao, he decided to look for them. He spread out his divine sense, and all the various mountains and caves appeared in his mind. With a simple movement, his body disappeared. From memory, Wang Lin's figure appeared outside a mountain called Elephant Snake Mountain. Wang Lin looked around with a complex expression. There was a formation here. He didn't break the formation, but instead went through it and entered the mountain. Inside was a large cave. When Wang Lin entered the cave, he saw a lot of dust. No one had lived here for a very long time. There were 3 ancient words carved on a large piece of jade in the main hall. Hengyu sect. Wang Lin let out a sigh as he wiped away the dust and silently stared at it for a very long time. Shortly after, Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and walked to the side. He broke the formation that was protecting a door and walked inside. In there were rows of shelves with jades on them that were releasing faint, ghostly lights. There was a corpse sitting in the lotus position in the corner. The bones were in pretty good condition, meaning that this person had clearly died due to old age. The corpse's right index finger was pointing at the ground. Wang Lin walked up, wiped away the dust on the ground, and saw the words that were carved there. The Hengyu sect died with me. I have wronged the ancestors, I have wronged the ancestors. Wang Lin pondered. He took a step back, respectfully bowed, and said, Disciple Wang Lin greets Senior. After letting out a sigh, Wang Lin picked up the jades one by one and scanned them with his divine sense. When he picked up one jade, he suddenly stopped. This old man's talent is lacking, so my cultivation 1T reach a high level, but I have a strange comprehension of swords. It is as if my life is for the sword. However, I don't know why, but whenever my divine sense enters a sword, the sword shatters after one breath of time. There are no exceptions. The word useless is a good way to describe this old man. Since I can use my divine sense to control swords, I can use swords in battle. I am a disgrace to my teacher. When I was 80, I had a dream that I was a sword spirit that swept the land. I was a king among swords. After I awakened, the sword from my dream remained engraved in my mind as if that was my life's pursuit. As if that was my past life I gave up on trying to break past the foundation establishment stage and focused on swordsmithing. This idea was so powerful that it felt like I was possessed. I was completely fixated on this. I had to create this sword. After a decade, this old man was even willing to beg for materials to create swords. I have created several swords, but none of them were what I wanted, so I gave up on them. This year, the Heng Yue sect faced a great calamity because powerful enemies attacked us, so the sect was about to be destroyed. This old man was born in the Heng Yue sect and would naturally die in the Heng Yue sect. This old man opened up his furnace one last time to create a sword. I was short on time, so I gave up on precious materials and used mortal metals. Then I created a large sword. After creating the sword, I suddenly felt a sign from the heavens, so I coated the sword in gold, and soon it was shining. Looking at the sword, the feelings I experienced in my dream suddenly came back to me. At that moment, I was back in my dream, and I was this sword's spirit. That was the feeling I had been looking for. I named the sword Wealth. Although this name isn't anything fancy, it was what I was feeling. My soul seemed to be completely merged with this sword, so I charged out and resolved the calamity for my Heng Yue sect. Then, as I left a sword technique inside the sword. I hope future disciples will treat the sword kindly. Wang Lin put down the jade and closed his eyes. He was shaking on the inside. Although the main reason he came was to see what had happened to the Heng Yue sect, another reason was to find out more about wealth. A sword spirit in his previous life, this sword is exactly the same as the celestial sword. Could this senior's soul have contained a fragment of the celestial sword's spirit? Wang Lin opened his eyes. His eyes were sparkling. He pondered a bit before his body disappeared and left this place. When he reappeared, he was outside the Juming Valley. This was where his bag of holding was destroyed. Back then, he had to go into the spatial rift to find the sword sheath. After creating a spatial rift, Wang Lin entered it. This time, his only target was wealth. That sword was created from ordinary metals, so I don't know if it could have survived inside the spatial rift for 500 years. Also, I don't know if the sword was destroyed along with the bag. Unfortunately, my cultivation level wasn't even high enough to notice the sword technique inside the sword. Otherwise, Wang Lin let out a sigh as he spread out his divine sense. Half a month later, Wang Lin walked out from the spatial rift with a frown. He had found nothing. I'm afraid that the sword has already been destroyed. I must quickly return to the soul refining sect and find a lot of celestial jades to reach the soul transformation stage. With that, Wang Lin disappeared. When he reappeared, he was inside an ancient transfer array, and then he disappeared from Zhao. In a rank cultivation country on the western side of planet Suzaku. This country had already been taken over by the Forsaken Immortal clan, and the cultivators of this country had become servants to the Forsaken Immortal clan. Someone wearing a straw hat was currently standing at the edge of the country. He was covered in a golden glow. Wang Lin, you finally came back. Senior already knows that you returned. I hope you don't disappoint him. This person slapped his bag of holding, and a piece of jade appeared in his hand. You helped me kill Li Yuanfeng and sealed the country of Shuiyue. I, Zhao Wutai, have no way to repay you besides giving you this jade. This jade contains Liu Mei's domain that I use my life to obtain. I hope you can fulfill Senior's hope and devour Liu Mei's Dao heart, and then become the next Suzaku. He took one step and disappeared. In an ancient transfer array in the country of Pilu, a bright light flashed and Wang Lin walked out of it. He immediately flew into the air and charged toward the soul refining sect. Lately, Leo has been having half headaches, always seeming to see light waves in the form of lines, affecting my vision, sometimes momentarily half blinded, perhaps too exhausted. Chapter 415, Soul Transformation 2. Along the way, Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and saw many cultivators with very ugly expressions that only seemed to hide their worries. Even when they met someone they knew, they would just quickly reply to each other and then head their own way. As Wang Lin flew, he suddenly frowned. More than 10 cultivators who had their divine senses linked in a mysterious way were sweeping the area. Among these 10 or so cultivators, 3 of them were at the soul formation stage and the rest were at the nascent soul stage. They weren't targeting anyone specifically, but seemed to be checking every cultivator. When their scan came toward him, Wang Lin didn't have time to deal with them, so he took a step and dodged their divine senses. None of them noticed anything wrong, so they continued to sweep the area. Wang Lin's speed was very quick, so he arrived outside the soul refining sect shortly after. The sect protection formation was already activated. It formed a black cloud around the sect, and this cloud looked like it was filled with ghosts. Waves of screams would occasionally come from the cloud. This place looked very daunting, almost like it was the underworld. None of the cultivators of Piu were willing to come near here, so they would always take a detour around this place. When Wang Lin saw the sect protection formation, he let out a sigh of relief. This meant that everything inside the sect was still safe. He activated the soul sealing technique and opened his mouth to spit out a strand of black gas that turned into the 30-foot-tall soul flag. Enter! Wang Lin pointed at the flag and it began to move. It quickly wrapped around Wang Lin and brought him through the formation. The moment the flag charged toward the black fog, the soul fragments made room to allow Wang Lin through. Then Wang Lin and the flag disappeared deep within the soul refining sect's formation. Soon after, the black cloud returned to normal. The passage that had opened up was quickly sealed. There weren't many changes since Wang Lin was last here, but there seemed to be even fewer disciples now. Only 10% of them were present. Looking at the distance of the 9 golden rings, only 3 remained. You have returned. An ancient voice came from the void. A blood ring suddenly appeared before Wang Lin, and then Du Tian walked out of it. Du Tian looked even older than before, and his entire body was giving off a thick death aura. The current him looked so different from the last time Wang Lin had seen him. Senior, Wang Lin's eyes became serious as he examined Du Tian. He let out a sigh as he saw that Du Tian's lifespan was almost at its end. You saw through it, it's no problem. I still have a few years of life left. I won't die too soon. Du Tian let out a laugh, and as he laughed, the death aura around him seemed to lessen. Not bad. In these short years, your cultivation level has increased a lot. You have already reached the point where you have to absorb celestial spiritual energy and refine your body. If you have a large amount of celestial jades, then it is only a matter of time before you reach the soul transformation stage. Du Tian took a closer look at Wang Lin. What he saw shocked him and made his eyes shine brightly. Wang Lin pondered a bit before asking, "Does Senior have any celestial jades?" Du Tian looked toward the sky and laughed. "What a guy you are, Seng Nene you. You came back to the soul refining sect only for celestial jades. If you had enough celestial jades, I am afraid you wouldn't even have returned." Wang Lin faintly smiled and shook his head. "I would still return for the 1 billion soul flag." Du Tian's eyes lit up. He looked at Wang Lin with an appreciative gaze and smiled. "Good. The 1 billion soul flag is yours. My soul fragment will also be yours in a few years. Heck, even the entire soul refining sect is yours. If you don't like this place, you can give up on the soul refining sect here. But you have to remember how good I was to you, and you have to keep your promise. This old man only wants you to promise one thing, and that is to keep the 1 billion soul flag safe. As long as this soul flag is safe, then my soul refining sect still exists. This planet is too small to hold someone like you. Sang you. When you leave, you must find a place suitable for my soul refining sect to grow once more. You must also build 999 heaven-reaching towers to complete my soul refining sect's dream of becoming a rank cultivation country. Listen well, Sang Niu. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. There was nothing free in this world, so if you wanted something, you would have to pay a price. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin agreed with Du Tian's words. He nodded and said, "I can do it." Du Tian carefully looked at Wang Lin before letting out a sigh. He looked into the sky and thought, "Senior apprentice brother, I have gambled everything on your prediction. I hope I won't lose everything on this bet." He took a deep breath, waved his sleeves and said, "Follow me." With that, he led the way, and Wang Lin followed closely behind. The two of them moved like lightning as they passed through the soul refining sect and arrived at the back mountain. Du Tian sent out a seal, causing the surroundings to tremble and a black vortex to suddenly appear. The vortex had black lightning coursing through it, and then a dangerous aura quickly spread from inside it. This is the forbidden area of my soul refining sect. Only those who have mastered the soul sealing technique are allowed in here, so bringing you here doesn't break the sect's law. After Du Tian finished speaking, he disappeared into the vortex. Wang Lin pondered a bit. Although his expression remained calm, he put up his guard as he carefully followed Du Tian inside. The moment he entered the vortex, he felt like he was entering a transfer array. His vision blurred, and when he could see clearly again, he was inside a cave. This cave wasn't very large. On the wall before him were more than 30 tablets made of celestial jade. These are tablets for all of the past soul transformation cultivators of the soul refining sect. Du Tian bowed to those tablets. Wang Lin also bowed. A hint of joy entered Du Tian's eyes, and he faintly nodded. Then he walked to the side and pressed his hand on a wall. Shortly after, rumbling sounds came from all directions. Saying, "Niu, sit down in the lotus position. My soul refining sect doesn't have many celestial jades left." Although we had a lot saved up when we came over from Planet 4 Saints, after tens of thousands of years and more than 30 soul transformation cultivators, our supply has long been used up. The remaining jades are what my senior apprentice brother and I got from the celestial realm when we were young. I'm afraid that they aren't enough for you. However, you don't have to worry. Even if this isn't enough, I'll just bring you out to steal some. No matter what, you must reach the soul transformation stage soon. My soul refining sect has never worried about not having enough celestial jades because when someone is ready to reach the soul transformation stage, we just pick a sect and bring the 1 billion soul flag to steal what we need. If one sect isn't enough, we will visit 2 sects. If 2 aren't enough, then we will go to a 3rd sect. Sooner or later, we will get enough celestial jades. When I reached the soul transformation stage, my teacher took the 1 billion soul flag and stole from all of the sects in 3 rank cultivation countries. As Du Tian spoke, there was pride in his eyes. Wang Lin could only bitterly smile after hearing this. He thought that the soul refining sect sure was tyrannical. The 1 billion soul flag was something even the Suzaku dreaded. With it, the soul refining sect could sweep the planet, and no one would dare to stop them. No wonder they were able to produce so many soul transformation cultivators. All of the celestial jades they used were stolen from others. At this moment, the rumbling got even louder and the ground began to crack. Then 2 blocks of celestial jade, each one the size of a person, came up from underground. Rich celestial spiritual energy began to fill the area. Wang Lin took a closer look and found that the quality of these 2 celestial jades wasn't as good as the quality of his jades. However, they were simply massive, so they naturally contained more celestial spiritual energy. Wang Lin took a deep breath and began to absorb the celestial spiritual energy. One piece of jade was in front of Wang Lin and the other was behind him. They both emitted rich celestial spiritual energy, which he absorbed at an incredible pace. It was as if his body was a large vortex. The celestial spiritual energy coming from the celestial jades was so rich that it became a visible white line that connected the jades and Wang Lin. Du Tian, who was standing on the side, nodded. He slapped his bag of holding and took out 7 small white flags. He threw them out, and the 7 white flags landed around Wang Lin. Strands of white gas came out from the white flags, linking them together to form an irregular shape. Du Tian pointed at the air and said, "Stand." White lines came out from the lines connecting the white flags and completely surrounded Wang Lin. Saying, "Niu, with this formation the speed at which you can absorb and convert your spiritual energy will increase. This old man has never held back on you." An endless amount of celestial spiritual energy entered his body, and his body constantly refined it, causing the spiritual energy inside him to change. Wang Lin gradually forgot about the passage of time, and completely immersed himself in absorbing celestial spiritual energy and converting his spiritual energy. Throughout this process, he gained a deep understanding of celestial spiritual energy. Reaching the soul transformation stage means a change in quality for cultivators. Only by converting spiritual energy and controlling celestial spiritual energy can one truly be considered a powerhouse. Soul transformation cultivators can control celestial spiritual energy. So many treasures that use spiritual energy become useless because they can withstand celestial spiritual energy. Similarly, there are some treasures that can be activated with spiritual energy at all. They can only be activated by celestial spiritual energy. The celestial sword and war god chariot were like this. With the passage of time, no matter how many celestial jades there were, they would eventually be absorbed. On this day, there were gentle crackling sounds as cracks appeared on the two jades. These past few days I've always been prodding myself to wish for likes on the video, but I always forget. Now there are only the last 12 hours left to double the likes for the video. Tears in the hope of likes. Brothers, don't hold back. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 416 Tradition. Cracks began to appear on the two slabs of celestial jade. The cracks began to spread, and then the jade slowly turned gray. On this day, the last strand of celestial spiritual energy was extracted from the celestial jade in front of Wang Lin. With a bang, the slab of jade collapsed into small pieces, forming a small hill of dust before him. At the same time, the celestial jade behind him also collapsed. Wang Lin's hair flowed in the air without any wind. The amount of celestial spiritual energy in his body was now countless times higher than before. A powerful aura began to spread from his body, knocking away the 7 white flags because they couldn't withstand it. Wang Lin slowly raised his head. When he stood up, his eyes released a golden light before calming down. Having completed 1/3 of the process, Wang Lin's eyes landed on Du Tian, who was sitting in the corner. Du Tian opened his eyes and smiled. Good. Now follow me while I take you to go steal some celestial jades. Although things are a mess due to the war, some more can stop this tradition of my soul-refining sect. Du Tian laughed as he ripped open the space before him, creating a black vortex that he walked into. Wang Lin let out a faint smile as he followed him into the vortex. When they reappeared, they were already in the sky outside of the soul-refining sect. Du Tian had his hands behind his back as he flew forward riding on a cloud. As Wang Lin casually followed behind Du Tian, he felt how the celestial spiritual energy had changed his body. There wasn't much spiritual energy left in his body at the moment. A majority of it had been converted to celestial spiritual energy. However, he had to fill his body to the brim with celestial spiritual energy, so he still needed a large amount of celestial jades to reach the soul transformation stage. There was a swarm on the western side of Pilu. This was a land of death where you couldn't see a living person within a radius of 10,000 kilometers. This place was a haven for insects. There were a lot of poisonous insects living here that even some cultivators wouldn't dare to mess with. Here one could often see large swarms of insects moving around. They were the kings here. There were other types of beasts inside the swarm that were also poisonous. However, they couldn't match the insects, so they spent most of their time inside the swarm and would normally not come out. All of the cultivators in Pilu knew not to take a step into the swarm. It was not forbidden because it was dangerous, but because this land was the home of the demonic insect sect. The demonic insect sect was located in a swamp. The demonic insect sect was a very strange sect. Instead of having a main sect hall, its buildings and structures were scattered across the swamp. There were a few spots that were solid ground. It was in these spots that the disciples of the demonic insect sect lived. They lived in these scattered areas that were spread across the entire swamp. The disciples of the demonic insect sect didn't have much sense of camaraderie with each other. Their cultivation method was related to insects, so the large amount of poisonous insects in the swamp did make it more convenient for them. On this day, 2 figures appeared in the sky above the edge of the swamp. One of the 2 was old and the other was young. The old man was wearing a black robe, his hair was gray, and he was very skinny. He had his hands behind his back, his eyes were cold, and he exuded an aura that caused all of the insects to run away in terror. The person beside him was a young man. He was wearing white and had his hair casually flowing behind him. Although he wasn't handsome, he had this abnormal aura to him. His eyes were especially clear, One look from them could shake a person's heart. These two were Du Tian and Wang Lin. It was clear that Du Tian was very familiar with this place because he led Wang Lin directly here. He looked at the swamp below him and sighed, saying to you, even though they are all hiding like rats, Don T looked down on the demonic insect sect members. Let me tell you that these people must all have been filthy rich in their previous lives. When my teacher brought me here, the amount of celestial jades we stole was more than 3 times what we took from the other sects. With that, he reached out to the void and the 1 billion soul flag appeared in his hand. After grabbing the 1 billion soul flag, Du Tian's aura changed completely. He stared at the swamp below him and waved the flag. Countless soul fragments immediately flew out and covered the area. The sky changed colors and time seemed to have stopped. The entire area was surrounded by soul fragments which constantly let out ghostly wails. The sound waves of these wails spread across the entire swamp. They were no weaker than attacks from magic treasures. More than 10 golden purple soul fragments charged out with excitement in their eyes and rushed forward without any commands. All of the poisonous insects ran as if they had met their natural enemy. Du Tian's eyes lit up and he shouted, "Mice of the demonic insect sect, your grandfather Du Tian has come. The rule is the same as usual. Quickly hand over the celestial jades." After Wang Lin heard this, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Could there even have been some rule set for stealing celestial jades? Wang Lin didn't know that the soul refining sect was used to being this bossy. Back when Du Tian's master brought him here, his master said the same thing, and it was rumored that his master's master also said something similar. In short, there was indeed a rule to this. A few angry roars came from the swarm before 2 people flew out. The soul fragments tried to stop them, but they were all knocked back by their auras. However, the 2 of them knew what to do. They merely pushed the soul fragments back without injuring them. One was an old man who was wearing a purple robe and had 2 blood-red scorpions around him. He quickly shouted, "Old Ghost Du Tian, there are no more celestial jades." The other person was an old woman wearing a palace dress. Although her face was filled with wrinkles, her eyes were bright. She coughed to cut off the purple-robed old man. Then she looked at Du Tian and said, "Old Ghost Du Tian, we can give you any celestial jades. When the Forsaken Immortal clan attacked, I was seriously injured and required a lot of celestial jades to finally recover. Considering the future, we can give you any." Du Tian's eyes became serious, and then his gaze landed on the old woman. He pointed at his forehead and the death aura he had been suppressing was released. He said, with a hoarse voice, "Yan Hong, I have less than 2 years left to live." The old woman trembled and her expression changed slightly. The purple-robed old man's expression became ugly and he muttered, "You people of the soul refining sect are all crazy. When your lifespan is almost up, you take the 1 billion soul flag and steal celestial jades from people." Du Tian laughed and said, "That is correct. I only have less than 2 years left to live, so I naturally don't fear death. Give me celestial jades and I'll leave. If you don't give me any, I won't fight with you, but I'll wipe out all the poisonous insects in the swamp." The purple-robed old man laughed in anger and was about to speak when the old woman coughed and said, "Old Ghost, why be like this? Not only can the 2 of us wipe out your soul-refining sect, this junior beside you will die for sure." Wang Lin let out a faint smile as his right hand pointed to the air and the celestial sword flew out with a swing. Wang Lin used a strand of celestial spiritual energy in that swing. Although he hadn't reached the soul transformation stage, he could still use a bit of celestial spiritual energy. The celestial sword naturally needed celestial spiritual energy to be used. Once celestial spiritual energy was used, it released a blinding golden light and exuded celestial pressure. The sword energy descended like lightning. The old woman's expression greatly changed as she reached for her bag of holding and took out a turtle shell to block the sword energy. Boom! A loud bang could be heard as the turtle shell turned to dust when it stopped the sword energy. The old woman's expression was very ugly. Even the purple-robed old man's expression was ugly as he stared at Wang Lin. Wang Lin slowly asked, "Do you 2 still think I'll die for sure today?" The old woman said, with a serious tone, "Who are you? That sword energy just now contains celestial spiritual energy," but she wasn't surprised about that. She had already noticed that Wang Lin was at the step between the soul formation and soul transformation stages. She didn't consider this kind of cultivator a threat, but she could have never imagined that he would have a celestial treasure. No matter what quality, as long as a treasure uses spiritual energy, it is called a spirit treasure. At the same time, treasures that use celestial spiritual energy are called celestial treasures. The so-called celestial treasures are treasures that can withstand the power of celestial spiritual energy and perfectly display its power. This kind of treasure is very rare. The only thing most soul transformation cultivators want, other than reaching the ascendant stage, is to find a celestial treasure for themselves. Among soul transformation cultivators, having a celestial treasure and not having one is a huge difference. With a celestial treasure, one can use celestial spiritual energy to its full potential, but if one doesn't have one, they have to use it with their techniques, which are always weaker than treasures. In addition, there are some treasures that lie somewhere in between spirit and celestial treasures. They can be activated with both types of energy, and although they can fully utilize the power of celestial spiritual energy, they are much more powerful than treasures that use spiritual energy. These types of treasures are called pseudo-celestial treasures. The 1 billion soul flag and restriction flag are considered pseudo-celestial treasures. 5,000 words in a major chapter. Seizing the moment when brothers and sisters feel comfortable, Lio wishes for the like button for the video, for sharing, for channel follows without hesitation. Chapter 417. The second battle with the Forsaken Immortal clan begins. Wang Lin smiled at the old woman's question and said, I am Tseng Niu. The old woman's expression changed. She looked at Wang Lin and said, to kill Shui Us Li Yuanfeng and the giant demon clan ancestor at only the soul formation stage. Today, this old woman indeed can kill you. The old woman let out a sigh. Although she was at the late stage of soul transformation and could easily kill Wang Lin, she had no chance of doing so with Du Tian present. After looking at the old man beside her, she let out another sigh in her heart. The purple-robed old man beside the woman had a gloomy expression on his face. He was at the early stage of soul transformation. He knew that he could have killed Li Yuanfeng without question, but against the giant demon clan ancestor, it would be very difficult to win. However, this young man before him managed to kill both. Although Wang Lin wasn't a soul transformation cultivator yet, he already saw Wang Lin as someone of the same cultivation level. Du Tian let out a laugh. He was very satisfied with Wang Lin's actions. People of the soul refining sect should be like this. Du Tian said, let's not waste any more time. According to the rules, give me half of your celestial jades. The old woman pondered a bit. She then looked at Du Tian for a bit before her eyes lit up and she said, I can give you half our celestial jades, but with the battle with the Forsaken Immortal clan at hand. If my demonic insect sect is in danger, you must help us at once. Du Tian looked at the old woman and said, that will depend on how many celestial jades you give me. The old woman bitterly smiled. She took out a bag of holding and threw it at Du Tian without even looking at it. She said, this should satisfy you. Du Tian caught the bag. After he scanned it with his divine sense, his expression became strange. He looked at the old woman and said, you people of the demonic insect sect really were filthy rich in the past. My master took so many celestial jades from you guys, but you still have this many. Did you guys find some way to gather them? The old woman calmly said, you don't need to know about this. Remember our agreement. With that, she flew off into the distance. The purple-robed elder looked at Wang Lin once more before clasping his hands at him and leaving. Just like this, Du Tian took Wang Lin across Pilu and stole a large number of celestial jades. Along the way, Wang Lin really got to see just how tyrannical Du Tian really was. Du Tian would take out the 1 billion soul flag and demand celestial jades. If they didn't give him any, he would release the soul fragments and use what little time he had left to mess with the sect. The soul refining sect's notoriety was well known. The other two sects of Pilu were really angry, but since the soul refining sect has always done this, they handed the celestial jades over in the end. Du Tian slapped his bag of holding and smiled at Wang Lin. See all of this? This is how my soul refining sect has acted for tens of thousands of years. When you own the 1 billion soul flag, you must do the same or else you'll drag down my soul refining sect's name. Although his body was filled with death aura, Wang Lin could sense some relief in Du Tian's heart. A long time ago, an ancestor of my soul refining sect wanted to reach the ascendant stage. The amount of celestial jades he needed was many times more than what you require. Finally, After sweeping the entire planet, he went to the country of Suzaku. With the 1 billion soul flag, even the ascendant cultivators wouldn't carelessly act against him. As a result, he was able to take celestial jades by force, Du Tian said. Wang Lin bitterly smiled. He could feel the headache that the ascendant cultivators of Suzaku back then had. Giving the celestial jades away made it feel like they were gifting someone free money. After all, every generation that held the 1 billion soul flag was a tyrant. Wang Lin secretly thought, I think I see how this soul-refining sect went from a rank cultivation country to only a sect now. However, that ancestor failed and still died in the end. In truth, I don't agree with his actions. Unless it is absolutely needed, it is better not to mess with ascendant cultivators. He would have been better off doing what we are doing right now. With this flag, we can go through a rank cultivation country and steal from any sect we see. Even if we meet powerful cultivators of the Forsaken Immortal clan, it won't matter. Wang Lin bitterly smiled once more. Du Tian's tyrannical actions weren't limited to Pilu. In fact, Du Tian was fairly reserved in Pilu. After all, they were all neighbors, so he couldn't push them too far. However, the moment they left Pilu, Wang Lin finally got to see just how tyrannical Du Tian could be. In 3 months of time, Du Tian took Wang Lin across 4 rank 5 cultivation countries. When they left, it was like a locust swarm had gone by. Even some cultivation families were affected and had to hand over the few celestial jades they had. As for the sects, Du Tian didn't even say anything before taking out the 1 billion soul flag. The soul fragments would cover the sects, and then more than 10 soul transformation soul fragments would come out. This was not an attack any sect in a rank cultivation country could resist. Du Tian collected a large number of celestial jades and placed them in a bag of holding. In the 4th rank cultivation country, Du Tian finally aroused a reaction from the local cultivators. 4 soul transformation cultivators banded together to attack Du Tian. This time, Wang Lin finally recognized just how strong the 1 billion soul flag was. Wang Lin didn't even have time to act before the 4 of them were beaten back. This was only because Du Tian didn't want to kill anyone. Otherwise, one of them would have definitely become another primary soul for the soul flag. With how tyrannical Du Tian was acting in the last 2 years of his life, Wang Lin had to take out his straw hat and use it to cover his appearance. This was to prevent all of the sects that they had stolen from looking for him in the future. 4 rank 5 cultivation countries, 13 sects, and more than 100 cultivation families. Counting the ones in Pilu, that is 16 sects in total. In these 3 months, Du Tian stole a large number of celestial jades from them. On this day, Du Tian stopped. Du Tian said to Wang Lin, in a serious tone, this many celestial jades should be enough for you to reach the soul transformation stage. Maybe there will even be some left over. In the future, if you want to raise your cultivation level, you will have to get your own celestial jades. Remember, in the cultivation world, especially for soul transformation cultivators, the only way to get celestial jades is to steal. No matter how many disciples you send to the celestial realm, you won't get enough celestial jades. Wang Lin nodded. He had no issues with stealing, but he didn't agree with Du Tian's methods. He believed that he should either take everything or not steal at all. Perhaps the process would be a lot more difficult, but the number of celestial jades in their possession would be more than double what they currently had. After obtaining enough celestial jades, Du Tian took Wang Lin and rushed back to the soul refining sect. He was going to protect Wang Lin so he could break through to the soul transformation stage safely. Du Tian let out a sigh and said, Planet Suzaku is too small. When I was young, I left the planet once and went to Tianyun. That planet is 10 times larger than planet Suzaku. There are a lot of sects there and naturally more celestial jades. If it wasn't for that fact I wasn't strong enough, it would have felt good to steal from the sects there. It is said that among the Cultivation Alliance, there are many rank 6 cultivation countries that organize raids to steal from other cultivation planets. Planet Tianyun. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Du Tian said, that Tianyunzi on planet Tianyun has a very high cultivation level. It is said he even has a seat in the Cultivation Alliance. That is not something the small Zhuki Z can compare with. Wang Lin pondered a bit. Just as he was about to ask more, Du Tian's expression changed, and he looked into the distance. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and turned his head. A black fog was closing in from the horizon and devouring clouds on the way. The black fog was so large that one couldn't see where it ended. A powerful aura of tattoo power slowly spread out. Forsaken Immortal Clan. Du Tian's eyes lit up. During their time together, Wang Lin had talked with Du Tian and learned that several years ago. The Immortal Forsaken Clan gathered a large amount of people and directly started their attack on the continent of Suzaku. Countless cultivators died during that battle. Some shamans from the Forsaken Immortal Clan who were as powerful as Ascendant cultivators fought with Zhuxi and the other two Ascendant cultivators. This battle lasted for 3 years and then the Forsaken Immortal Clan retreated. They took over the rank 3 cultivation countries and began this slow battle with the country of Suzaku. In this battle, 2 people rose above all others, Lu Mei and Chan Feng. Lu Mei, with her peerless beauty, had caught the eyes of all the young male cultivators. Her cultivation level was also very high. She was at the mid-stage of soul transformation. This made her even more eye-catching. The moment she appeared, she completely suppressed Red Butterfly's fame and became the new Heaven's Daughter. It seemed like no one was paying attention to Red Butterfly anymore. What got everyone talking even more was that she was the personal disciple of the current Suzaku and a candidate to become the next Suzaku. The moment she appeared, she caught several 7-leaf shamans. She was even able to capture an 8-leaf shaman who was as powerful as a late-stage soul transformation cultivator. As a result, her fame skyrocketed. There was one more thing about her that caught everyone's attention. The rumors went like this. She was kind and had a pure heart, yet was still able to reach this level of cultivation. She had never killed a person in her life. Even when she fought against the Forsaken Immortal Clan, she only captured them and didn't kill them. With all of these good qualities, she naturally caught everyone's attention. Whenever she appeared, all of the surrounding cultivators respectfully obeyed her orders. Even in battles that they were destined to lose, when she appeared, all of the cultivators present would regain their vigor and then win the battle with her help. This woman was considered one of the twin geniuses of this generation. The other genius was Qian Feng. He was very handsome and had a dignified appearance. His cultivation level was also at the mid-stage of soul transformation. There was no trace of arrogance on him, and he was very morally upright, just and mild-mannered. Qian Feng suddenly appeared in the 2nd year of the Forsaken Immortal Clan's attack. Waking up early today, not updating on time even earlier. Leo went to deal with household chores, unsure what time I'll be back this afternoon. The new chapter tonight might be late. Chapter 41 Centipede. The Xuan Dao sect's disciples were also all secretly evaluating the Heng Yue sect disciples, especially the ones who were at the TH layer and higher. Wang Zhuo's looks and his peak 5th layer cultivation also made the Xuan Dao sect disciples keep him in mind. As for Wang Lin, he was only at the R&D layer, so they completely ignored him. Everyone aside from Lu Mei, that is. She paid a little attention to him. As the 2 sect's elders talked to each other, they were also secretly looking at each other's disciples. The Xuan Dao sect's 3 elders became more and more happy as they saw the Heng Yue sect's disciples. They thought that if these were all the disciples the Heng Yue sect had, they would win this exchange for sure. But they had secretly been in conflict with the Heng Yue sect for many years, and knew that they were very cunning. They would save the killing blow until the most crucial moment. Even though there were quite a few disciples of the 6th layer present, all of them were new faces, and all the ones that participated last time were in sight. Those were the people who they needed to focus on during this exchange. The sect head, Wang Long, scanned the Xuan Dao sect's disciples. His gaze paused on the male and female with the pure water spirit roots. He secretly sighed in his heart. In the past 500 years, the Heng Yue sect had really fallen without a successor. Even the Xuan Dao sect, which was an unknown small sect only 500 years ago, could constantly beat the Heng Yue sect. He originally thought that they would win this time, but 2 single-element spirit root disciples had appeared this time, which made him very worried. Do we really need the purple-clothed disciples to come out? They are currently in training. Suddenly, Huang Long's gaze fell on the disciple all the way in the back, and he finally made a decision. Fine. Since they sent this disciple, then it's time for our core disciples to come out as well. Thinking about this, he laughed and said, "Friend Ouyang, the disciples must be tired from the trip. Let them go rest first. Us few old guys should have a good time. Come into the main hall." He waved his hand to welcome them into the main hall with a smile on his face. Xuan Dao sect's 3 elders nodded and followed him into the main hall. The Heng Yue sect's elders followed in behind them. Elder Shu was the last one. He turned to the disciples and said, Wang Zhuo, you in charge of taking care of the Xuan Dao sect's disciples. If there are any issues, Teacher 1T forgive you. Wang Zhuo seemed to be prepared for this. He respectfully said, Teacher doesn't have to worry. I will properly take care of Xuan Dao sect's fellow apprentice brothers and sisters. Elder Shu smiled at the Xuan Dao sect's disciples and said, Disciples of the Xuan Dao sect, if you have any needs, you can ask Wang Zhuo. This old man is old, so I won't bother you young ones. You all should get to know each other more. The future of the cultivation world belongs to you all. After he finished speaking, he walked into the main hall with a faint smile. The moment the elders left, the disciples immediately became more relaxed. Some of the Heng Yu sect's female disciples went up to the male with the water spirit root and started to make small talk. Their eyes were filled with admiration. Besides the Heng Yue sect's layer disciples appeared some Xuan Dao sect's disciples. They made small talk about their experiences. As for the other disciples, they all started to talk with each other. There were also many disciples who looked up to the unmoving centipede in amazement. Wang Lin looked at the scene and didn't want to join in. He went off to the side and sat down on some steps. Looking at the blue sky and white clouds while bathing in the sunlight felt very comfortable. There were many other disciples like Wang Lin that didn't like the crowds, like the female named Zhou. She saw Wang Lin and casually walked over. Junior brother Wang, I want to congratulate you on reaching the 3rd layer. There aren't many inner disciples as hardworking as you, the female named Zhou said with a smile. She sat down on the steps without caring if it was dirty or not. Wang Lin chuckled. He shook his head and said, It's not like what you said at all. I see that most of these people are painstakingly cultivating as well. The female named Zhou looked at the clouds. She sighed and said, Junior brother Wang, don't sell yourself short. During the 4 year of intense training, almost all the inner disciples came out very often, but I rarely saw you. Cultivation is a very boring thing to do. Junior brother Wang, to be honest, I admire you. To reach the 3rd layer in 4 years takes a lot of perseverance. Wang Lin rubbed his nose and smiled. Senior sister Zhou, didn't you also reach the 3rd layer? The female named Zhou sighed and gloomily said, I reached the 3rd layer 3 years ago, but now, all the disciples who were weaker than me back then have surpassed me. Maybe it's because I can cut off my mortal ties. Wang Lin pondered for a while and said, The road is ruthless. If senior sister Zhou wants to advance, you must understand this phrase. The female named Zhou looked at Wang Lin with her beautiful eyes. Revealing her beautiful teeth, she said, Junior brother Wang, I can see that you have already reached the peak of the 3rd layer and can break through at any time. I think that you will soon surpass me, too. Wang Lin stared at the breathtaking beauty. He wryly smiled and said, I want be able to break through any time soon. These mortal ties aren't something I can cut easily. The female named Zhou was stunned. She hesitated and asked, Junior brother Wang, it's rude of me to ask, but what mortal ties can you not cut? Wang Lin shook his head and didn't answer. His mind was filled with thoughts about his parents. The female named Zhou saw that Wang Lin was reluctant to answer. She sighed and said, I can cut the ties with my family. Cultivation is too ruthless. Maybe I'm not fit for this. Wang Lin was about to speak, but he suddenly turned his head and saw Wang Zhuo staring at him and the female named Zhou with an evil gaze. At that moment, they heard Wang Zhuo's voice. Brothers and sisters of the Xuan Dao sect, you all said this centipede likes to eat live animals. Let us, the Heng Yue sect, take care of it for you during your stay. I have a junior brother, you see. Cultivation is just a waste of time for him, so making him catch live animals to feed this centipede is a much more fitting job for him. The male disciple with the water spirit root hesitated and said, Brother Wang Zhuo, this is a bit improper. The centipede's nature is wild. If a stranger were feed it, that person might be in danger. Wang Zhuo said, with a gentle expression, Don't worry, Brother Lu. How could a cultivator back down because of danger? You are our guests. These chores should be left to us, the Heng Yue sect. Finally, the weekend is here, and Leo can finally sleep to his heart's content, not needing to get up early to take the daughter to school. Been burning the midnight oil these past few days, utterly exhausted. Chapter 418, The True Power of the 1 Billion Soul Flag. The moment he appeared, he immediately killed several powerful Forsaken Immortal clan members and fought with the Forsaken Immortal clan's junior master. All of this immediately shook the entire planet. The battle between the two of them was a battle between each side's next generation's leader. Although Xianfeng didn't win and the battle ended in a tie, his fame soared through the heavens. Only after this battle did everyone know that he was Liu Mei's senior apprentice brother, and a disciple of the current Suzaku. He was ranked second under Liu Mei. In addition, he had another identity that caught everyone's attention. This person was the descendant of the previous generation as Suzaku. Xianfeng was like a bright moon in the battle against the Forsaken Immortal clan. In the end, he signed an agreement with the junior master of the Forsaken Immortal clan. The country of Suzaku handed over all rank 3 cultivation countries so that the Forsaken Immortal clan would suspend their attack. Du Tian's eyes lit up as he stared at the large black cloud coming in from the distance and said, in a deep tone, the Forsaken Immortal clan has started their second attack. Saying to you, I can feel that a shaman as powerful as a mid-stage soul transformation cultivator is within that black cloud. As for whether there is an ascendant cultivator or not, I don't know. Bring out the sub-flag and we'll charge over. Wang Lin's expression remained calm as he looked at the black cloud. He reached out, causing the 1 billion soul sub-flag to appear. After he grabbed the flag, black fog came out of it and wrapped around Wang Lin. Du Tian also took out the 1 billion soul flag. With a wave, he wrapped himself in black fog as well, and charged toward the black cloud with Wang Lin. As they traveled, they were surrounded by sonic booms and the wailing of soul fragments. Waves of roars suddenly came the black cloud as a large number of Forsaken Immortal clan members appeared charged out. At this moment, Du Tian and Wang Lin charged directly into the black cloud. Just as the Forsaken Immortal clan members were about to attack, a shout came from within the black cloud, and the Forsaken Immortal clan members stopped and opened up a passage. A middle-aged man in a palace robe without any tattoos on his body walked out from the black cloud. Beside him followed a hunchbacked old man. The old man's expression was gloomy, and he would occasionally cough a few times. Wang Lin immediately recognized this old man as the person who had chased him into the spatial rift and then was left trapped inside. The feud between the two of them was great, so if he recognized Wang Lin, he wouldn't give up until he died. However, Wang Lin was wearing the straw hat and was wrapped in the soul flag, so that person couldn't recognize him. Soul refining sect, the middle-aged man whispered as his eyes lit up. He moved forward and blocked Du Tian and Wang Lin. You two from the soul refining sect, stay! The middle-aged man smiled and waved his hand. Boom! A loud bang rang out. With just a simple wave, an invisible force suddenly appeared and trapped Du Tian and Wang Lin like they were in a cage. Wang Lin's expression slightly changed. Under this invisible force, he felt a very strong sense of danger. 9-leaf shaman! Du Tian's voice came from inside the soul flag. However, the soul flag surrounding Du Tian released countless soul fragments, and then the 13 golden purple primary souls descended like gods. Du Tian shouted, charge! The soul fragments suddenly became crazy as they charged in all directions. This was especially true for the 13 soul transformation soul fragments. All of the Forsaken Immortal clan members under soul transformation level strength died in just one touch from the 13 fragments. The middle-aged man frowned. He had just reached the 9-leaf stage, so he was equal to an early stage ascendant cultivator. However, he had never seen the terrifying power of the 1 billion soul flag. He had only read about it in the records of the war tens of thousands of years ago, and knew that it was the weapon that the Forsaken Immortal clan dread the most. Now that he saw it, his expression darkened. He waved his hand, causing the black cloud to back off. The Forsaken Immortal clan members inside the cloud created an opening in the middle. Du Tian laughed as he brought Wang Lin to charge out of the black cloud and into the distance. Mu Ye, you bring the clan members to meet up with Junior Master. I am going to test the power of the 1 billion soul flag, the middle-aged man commanded, before chasing after Du Tian. The hunchbacked old man nodded as he led the clan members to reform the black cloud. When they finished, they continued to move forward. Du Tian flew away and then suddenly paused. The 9-leaf shaman is following us. Saying to you, watch carefully and see why ascendant cultivators fear the 1 billion soul flag. As Du Tian spoke, he turned around to face the forsaken immortal clan member. A rainbow arched across the sky and arrived before him. It was the middle-aged man. Du Tian didn't waste time talking. His hand formed a seal and he spat out some blood. 500 billion souls and 13 primary souls appear. The sky suddenly darkened as if the entire sky was covered by something and the earth became hell. An endless amount of wailing from the soul fragments began to echo around them. The soul fragments flew out of the soul flag one by one, covering the entire area. The 13 golden purple soul fragments stared at the middle-aged man that had appeared. Watch carefully. This is the proper way to use the soul flag. 13 soul formation? Du Tian shouted as the black fog surrounding him turned back into the 30-foot flag. Then he waved it. The 500 million soul fragments began to move in a mysterious manner around the 13 primary souls and formed a large formation that surrounded Wang Lin, Du Tian, and the middle-aged man. Even with Wang Lin's understanding of formations, he was only able to see through bits of it and could study it in detail. Soul refining, Du Tian shouted as he reached out. The formation suddenly trembled as all of the soul fragments let out a unified sound. This sound was like some kind of spell. Shortly after, a black aura came out from amidst the soul fragments and formed a giant hand. This giant hand was doing the same thing Du Tian was doing. It was as if it was his avatar. As Du Tian reached out, a white figure appeared around the middle-aged man. It was his soul. At this moment, the giant hand descended. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up. He didn't use any treasure as he pointed at the air and said one word, "Stop!" With a bang, the large hand suddenly stopped and remained motionless. The middle-aged man extended his arm and then 5 different colored lights gathered in his hand. Cauldron! The 5 lights immediately shattered and formed 5 cauldrons around the middle-aged man. Then he muttered, "Refine!" The 5 large cauldrons trembled as strange tattoos appeared around them. The tattoos flashed as they rotated around the cauldrons. The 5 large cauldrons formed 5 large vortexes inside the formation. An ancient aura filled the formation, and then some of the soul fragments were pulled into the vortexes. Du Tian's expression remained calm as he said, "You are indeed a 9-leaf shaman, and you have some skill. 13 primary souls gather." The formation suddenly changed again as the 500 million soul fragments gathered toward the 13 primary souls. Then the 13 primary souls started to become solid. The 500 million soul fragments fused with the 13 primary souls, giving them each the power of a late-stage soul transformation cultivator. They even had celestial spiritual energy inside their bodies. This time the middle-aged man's expression finally changed. Du Tian's eyes were cold as he said, "It's not over yet. 13 primary souls fuse into one." The 13 primary souls suddenly moved, creating countless afterimages. When the afterimages disappeared, the souls had fused into one. 500 million soul fragments and 13 primary souls refined into one soul. The moment this soul appeared, the sky changed colors. Ascendant, the middle-aged man sucked in a breath of cold air. All of the primary souls in the 1 billion soul flag were soul transformation ancestors of the soul refining sect. The one regret they all had was being unable to reach the ascendant stage. They couldn't achieve it when they were alive, and this desire grew stronger in their death. In the end, the desire of all the soul fragments allowed them to fuse and create a power that matched an ascendant cultivator. This wasn't even the full power of the 1 billion soul flag, only a part of it. This power was enough to fight against early-stage ascendant cultivators, but was no match for late-stage ascendant cultivators like the current Suzaku. What the current Suzaku was really scared of was the power of all 36 primary souls, especially the 4th one. Du Tian stared at the middle-aged man and coldly said, "Scram, I want to kill you today. My soul-refining sect want to participate in the war between you and the country of Suzaku." The middle-aged man's expression was very dark, and the anger in his heart grew. With his cultivation level, if Du Tian didn't have the 1 billion soul flag, he could have easily killed Du Tian already. He stared at Du Tian as he pondered. After a bit he said, "Just this kind of power isn't enough to threaten me. Could the 1 billion soul flag only have this kind of power?" Du Tian laughed as his eyes lit up and said, "10 primary souls appear." He waved the soul flag in his hand, and then 10 more soul transformation primary souls flew out. This time the middle-aged man bitterly smiled. At this moment, he finally understood why his clan dreaded the 1 billion soul flag so much. The middle-aged man said, since the soul refining sect is not going to participate in the war, then I'll speak for the Forsaken Immortal clan, and promise that we won't even take a single step into the soul refining sect. With that, he clasped his hands at Du Tian and carefully left. Du Tian waved the soul flag to retrieve all the soul fragments and quickly left with Wang Lin. 1 billion soul flag. After witnessing what had just happened, Wang Lin's eyes were filled with passion. The world was large, and with that flag, he could go anywhere. Day in, day out, nearing 3,000 words, reading a lot, but can't force myself to split the story into 2,000 words chapters, because then the flavor's gone. Leo with tears in his eyes, longing for the like button for the video. Chapter 419, Second Generation, Suzaku, Situnan? With arrogance in his voice, Du Tian said, this is the power of my soul refining sect S1 billion soul flag. What do you think? Wang Lin replied, very powerful. Du Tian laughed and said, there isn't really a proper way to use the soul flag. For example, the 6th generation ancestor was good with formations, so he used it to create formations. As Du Tian rushed back to Pilu, he told Wang Lin more about the 1 billion soul flag. The 10th generation ancestor's domain was devour, so he used the soul flag to devour souls to make himself stronger against enemies. However, the one skill that the 1 billion soul flag always has is fusion. The ascendant soul you saw was created by fusion. Although it can last forever, it can fight against an ascendant cultivator for 1 incense stick of time. However, none of these are the flag's real aces. What can really threaten ascendant cultivators is the 4th primary soul. In tens of thousands of years, the 4th soul has only appeared once. When that happened, my sect's last early-stage ascendant ancestor was fighting together with the 2nd generation Suzaku against 4 late-stage ascendant cultivators from other planets. While stealing celestial jades was the main reason they came out, Du Tian also wanted to teach Wang Lin about the 1 billion soul flag so that he can better control it 2 years from now. Du Tian didn't hold anything back from Wang Lin. He treated Wang Lin like a real direct disciple. These secrets about the soul flag were normally only passed down from master to disciple. Although Du Tian and Wang Lin were not officially master and disciple, their relationship was similar to that. Wang Lin's eyes became serious as he asked, together with the 2nd generation Suzaku. Du Tian nodded. After beating the Forsaken Immortal clan, the 1st generation Suzaku sacrificed himself along with several late-stage ascendant cultivators to seal the Forsaken Immortal clan. Then he appointed someone as the 2nd generation Suzaku. This person was very talented and outstanding, very different from all the future Suzakus after him. He didn't suppress any rank 5 cultivation countries, and while he only ruled for a short 1,000 years, he had a higher cultivation level than every Suzaku that came after. It is said that he was already 1 step into the realm after Ascendant, and was only half a step from the next step. This person was no doubt the #1 expert in the history of planet Suzaku. After hearing this, Wang Lin's heart trembled. He thought about the one thing that Situnan had always said, which was that he was the #1 expert of planet Suzaku. What was his name? Du Tian shook his head. It has been far too long for anyone to still remember his name. We only remember him as the 2nd generation Suzaku. Maybe the current Suzaku knows. Wang Lin continued to ask, what happened to him in the end? Du Tian slowly said, his whereabouts are unknown. Du Tian sighed and continued. It is rumored that the battle against those foreign cultivators wasn't any less intense than the battle against the Forsaken Immortal clan's ancestral spirit. In the end, my soul refining sect's ancestor wasn't a match. After all, he was only an early-stage ascendant cultivator. He used the 4th soul to get out alive and killed one of the foreign cultivators. However, the 4th soul took heavy damage and has been in deep sleep ever since. According to my calculations, it should have almost fully recovered by now. Although the battle was won, the 2nd generation Suzaku was hunted down by the foreign cultivators and disappeared. Wang Lin's heart trembled. He remembered when Situnan told him that he fought against some foreign cultivators. Eventually, his body was destroyed by them, but his nascent soul escaped into the heaven-defying bead, and then his life was saved. Situ Nan's hatred for those people could only be considered monstrous. According to Du Tian's story, the second generation Suzaku's fate was very similar to Situ Nan's. Wang Lin took a deep breath and his eyes lit up. He had a grudge against the current Suzaku. If Situ were to awaken, would he help the current Suzaku? Du Tian looked at Wang Lin and asked, "What are you thinking about?" Wang Lin pondered a bit and asked, with the war between the Forsaken Immortal clan and the country of Suzaku going on right now, if the second generation Suzaku was still alive, would he help the current Suzaku? Du Tian laughed and shook his head. Let us not count on the possibility of the second generation Suzaku being alive, but if he was, he wouldn't help the current generation Suzaku because there is no connection between them. It is rumored that the second generation Suzaku was very arrogant. If it wasn't for the fact that he owed the first generation Suzaku, he would have already left the planet to hone himself elsewhere. Wang Lin nodded. His eyes lit up and he asked, "How many generations of Suzakus have there been?" Du Tian snorted and said, "The current Suzaku is the 14th generation and the one I hate the most." Wang Lin pondered a bit before suddenly asking, "Senior, the Forsaken Immortal Ancestral Spirit you talked about earlier, what is that?" Du Tian shook his head and said, "I don't know what it is either, and I have only seen the records from the sect. Back then, during the big war with the Forsaken Immortal clan, this ancestral spirit appeared and caused a large amount of ascendant cultivators to die. Okay, let us not talk about this anymore. The continent of Suzaku is close. Let us hurry so you can reach the soul transformation stage." With that, Du Tian suddenly sped up. In these few short months, Du Tian took Wang Lin across almost half of the planet. Now they could see the continent of Suzaku appearing before them. That is right, the ancestor recorded one of the names of the 4 foreign cultivators. That person said that he was from planet 5 elements and was called Na Duo. Yes, that should be correct. Once we go back, I'll give you the jade with the records. Na Duo, Wang Lin's body trembled. What is wrong with you? Du Tian turned toward Wang Lin and looked at him with a questioning gaze. Wang Lin took a deep breath and said, "I have met this Na Duo." Du Tian was startled. His eyes lit up and he asked, "You've met Na Duo?" Wang Lin told Du Tian about the matter regarding Na Duo. Interesting. An old monster that has lived for tens of thousands of years must have broken past the ascendant stage and touched the next step. Otherwise, it would be impossible to live until now. The two of them flew very fast across the sky and soon arrived in the northern part of the Suzaku continent. Just at this moment, Wang Lin's eyes became serious. Du Tian seemed to have noticed even earlier because he grabbed Wang Lin and backed up. A green light screen had appeared on the edge of the continent of Suzaku, and it covered the entire continent. The Suzaku Formation. Du Tian's expression was ugly. The Suzaku Formation was the most powerful formation on the planet. It could be big or small, but when used at full power, it could cover the planet to protect it from foreign cultivators or beasts that lived in the void. At its smallest, it could shield just one person and be extremely powerful. It looks like the country of Suzaku is very determined to win against the Forsaken Immortal clan. The amount of spirit stones required to activate the Suzaku Formation is beyond imagination, and a lot of celestial jades are required to use its power. Hey, enough to match a late-stage ascendant cultivator. Du Tian's eyes lit up, and he pointed forward. A strand of black gas came out from his finger and landed on the green light screen. The moment the black gas got close, the green light screen trembled and formed a green fist that punched the black gas. Boom! After a loud bang, the black gas disappeared, and the fist returned to the green light screen. Du Tian sneered. It even contains the blood of the giant demon clan, so the formation has the power of the giant demon clan bloodline. You shouldn't have left so much trouble behind when you went to the giant demon clan. If I had gone personally, I would have killed them all to prevent any retaliation in the future. When the Forsaken Immortal clan attacked, the Suzaku's second disciple, Qianfeng, went to the giant demon clan, unsealed them, and moved them all to the country of Suzaku. I was wondering why the country of Suzaku was being so generous, but it seems they were after the giant demon clan's blood. With this much giant demon clan blood, this formation contains some power from their bloodline power. Wang Lin remained silent. With Qi Hu there was no way he could have killed them all. Du Tian's eyes became cold as he stared at the Suzaku Formation and shouted, "The Suzaku Formation has surrounded the entire continent. There must be someone controlling the formation every 5,000 kilometers. Come out for this, old man, or else I am going to make an opening before the Forsaken Immortal clan even arrives. This old man's patience has limits. I will only give you 3 breaths of time. 2 breaths later, a figure appeared inside the green light screen. This person had long hair, wore a white robe, and was very handsome, but he exuded a hint of evil. Overall, he gave off a mysterious charm. This person let out a smile and said, "Senior, please don't be angry. Since you asked Junior to come out, Junior will come out." Du Tian coldly said, "Open the formation, as you've ordered." The evil-looking young man raised his hand and pointed at the green light screen. A hole opened up and Du Tian snorted as he entered the continent of Suzaku. Wang Lin closely followed. However, just at this moment, the evil-looking young man's eyes lit up and he waved his hand, causing the green light screen to close. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. He was stuck outside. "Junior, you are courting death." Du Tian's eyes became cold as he looked at the evil-looking young man. This person didn't show any fear as he let out a gentle smile and said, "Senior, please don't be angry. I just want to fight with fellow cultivator Sang Niu who shook the entire planet." "Sang Niu, do you dare to fight with me?" The evil-looking young man looked at Wang Lin, who was outside the green light screen. "Who are you?" Wang Lin frowned. "Fellow cultivator Sang Niu. Although it is the first time we meet, I know a lot about you. My concubine Red Butterfly just can't stop thinking about you." The evil-looking young man let out a smile. "Xianfeng." Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Naiduo appears in chapter. International Children's Day brings tears and wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 420. Xianfeng. The evil-looking young man gently nodded and said, "I didn't think Brother Seng knew my name. I believe it was my mischievous junior apprentice sister that told you. She must have said a lot of bad things about me." With a cold voice, Du Tian said, "Enough. Qianfeng, open the formation. I don't have time to waste with you. If you don't open it now, you will stay here forever." Qianfeng laughed. "Senior, I don't have any ill intent. Could it be that the successor Senior chose doesn't even have the guts to fight with me? Senior can rest assured. I won't use any killing moves. We will only be sparing." Du Tian sneered. He raised his hand and was about to use a spell when Wang Lin said, "Okay, I'll fight with you." Qianfeng's eyes lit up. He let out a laugh as he walked out of the green light screen. He stopped 10 feet away from Wang Lin and smiled. "Good. No wonder Brother Seng is someone who killed Li Yuanfeng and the giant demon clan ancestor." Wang Lin didn't waste words with this person. The moment Qianfeng walked out, Wang Lin took out his celestial sword, activated his celestial spiritual energy, and slashed down on Qianfeng, cutting his sentence short. Although this was the first time Wang Lin had met Qianfeng, he had no good feelings toward him. The first move Wang Lin made was with 120% of his power. This slice was clean and as fast as lightning. Qianfeng's eyes became cold. He didn't use any treasure but pointed at the air before him. Bang! A loud bang echoed in the sky. This slice from Wang Lin contained celestial spiritual energy, making the celestial sword several times more powerful than before. This move also contained all of the celestial spiritual energy Wang Lin could use at once, so its power was astonishing. Qianfeng was forced back 1,000 feet before he could get rid of the force from the celestial sword. His expression was no longer calm. His eyes were cold and glowing as he stared at Wang Lin's celestial sword. Celestial treasure! His right index finger was trembling as a stream of blood dripped down from its tip. His entire right arm was also completely numb. Qianfeng didn't expect Wang Lin to attack with full power on the first strike. After pushing Qianfeng back with one slash, Wang Lin opened his mouth to spit out a ray of black light. He caught it in his hand, and it turned into the 1 billion soul flag. With a wave, all of the soul fragments flew out. Wang Lin knew that he couldn't win against Qianfeng. After all, Qianfeng was at the mid-stage of soul transformation. The only way to approach this was to act first and attack Qianfeng so fast that he wouldn't know how to react. The moment the soul fragments appeared, Wang Lin quickly said, "Devour." There were 12 primary souls among the countless soul fragments. They let out dark smiles as they pounced toward Qianfeng. From the moment Xianxia walked out of the green light screen to being surrounded by the countless soul fragments, it all happened in very quickly. So fast, in fact, that Xianxia felt like he didn't know what to do. After all, he didn't understand Wang Lin, and had been looking down upon him, in his heart. Otherwise, with his cultivation level, there was no way he would give Wang Lin the chance to use the soul flag. And from his point of view, Wang Lin was simply too despicable. With his status, no matter who he faced, the opponent would at least talk with him for a bit before starting the fight. However, this Wang Lin unexpectedly cut him off and attacked him the moment he came out. This type of action was no different from a sneak attack. Even back when he fought against the Forsaken Immortal Clan's junior master, he wasn't in such an embarrassing position. This scene made Du Tian very happy. He began to laugh out loud and thought, this Sang Yu really has the essence of my soul-refining sect. If one is going to act, then one must take the best opportunity. At this moment, Xianfeng was surrounded by the 1 billion soul sub-flag. The countless soul fragments created a powerful pressure, especially the 12 primary soul, which were very dangerous to him. The gentleness disappeared from Xianfeng's face and was replaced with a trace of hostility. He slapped his bag of holding, and a fiery red awl came out. Suzaku Awl! Du Tian frowned. He thought that the current Suzaku was really spoiling this Xianfeng, or else he wouldn't have given Xianfeng this kind of treasure. Du Tian sent out a voice transmission. Sang Yu, that treasure belongs to Zhuge Zi. It is considered a pseudo-celestial treasure, so it's very powerful. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He was a very decisive person, so at this moment, his eyes became cold as he said, "Explode!" With one word, 100 million soul fragments immediately exploded. Boom! 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 The explosion of 100 million soul fragments created a destructive force beyond imagination, causing Xianfeng's expression to change greatly. Without any hesitation, he put away the awl and sat down in the lotus position. The entire Suzaku formation flickered and disappeared before reappearing in front of Xianfeng. Right now his body was emitting a powerful green light. A powerful vortex then came out of his body and absorbed all of the force from the explosion. The powerful impact from the 100 million souls exploding caused the green light to tremble violently, and Xianfeng, who was inside, coughed out a mouthful of blood. Wang Lin secretly sighed as he waved his hand and called back the 12 primary souls. Now that the Suzaku formation was gone, he calmly entered the continent and stood beside Du Tian. After the 12 primary souls returned, Wang Lin's 1 billion soul sub-flag turned into a strand of black gas and exited his origin soul. It went back to Du Tian and returned to the real 1 billion soul flag. Wang Lin's sub-flag's 2 uses were up. Du Tian's eyes became cold. He raised his hand and then lowered it. Right now he couldn't kill Xianfeng as he had the Suzaku formation around him. Unless he used the 4th soul, there was no way to break the Suzaku formation that was now only protecting one person. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. It was as if the battle earlier had never taken place. After 3 breaths of time, the green light screen disappeared and Xianfeng walked out of it with a gloomy expression. He stared at Wang Lin with anger and frustration on his face. However, he immediately suppressed his emotions. After taking a deep breath, the gentle expression returned to his face. He said, "Brother Sang sure has some skill. I have learned much from this." Wang Lin calmly said, "No problem." His gaze paused at the forest not far away. Then he let out a sigh and flew toward the soul-refining sect. Du Tian let out a mischievous smile as he looked at Xianfeng. Then he casually scanned the forest not far away before disappearing toward the soul-refining sect. The anger in Xianfeng's eyes returned. He clenched his fists as he stared at where Wang Lin went and shouted, "Red butterfly, come out!" A person wearing a red dress walked out. She was very beautiful and graceful. However, her eyes were filled with confusion and loss as if she were a puppet without a soul. When Red Butterfly arrived beside Xianfeng, he suddenly turned around and pointed at Red Butterfly's forehead. Her face immediately became deathly pale as her life force was quickly drained. Xianfeng had the opposite reaction. His face became red. All of the injuries he had suffered earlier quickly recovered, and in the blink of an eye he was fully healed. He withdrew his hand and looked at the wound on his finger. There was still blood coming out of that wound. "Lick it clean." Xianfeng raised his finger next to Red Butterfly. Red Butterfly opened her small mouth, put Qianfeng's finger into her mouth, and gently licked it with her tongue. Qianfeng didn't even look at Red Butterfly but continued to stare at where Wang Lin disappeared to and muttered to himself, "Wang Lin, you dare to hurt me? You are dead." Teacher is getting old and confused. Why else would he have sent junior apprentice sister to go take your Dao heart? Your domain is mine, and junior apprentice sister S domain is mine too. Even teacher S domain, if I can find a way, I will devour it too. This saying the U.S. soul flag is too powerful. That old man Du Tian is also getting old, but instead of giving it to the country of Suzaku, he is giving it to Seng Niu. However, the soul flag has already caught teacher S' attention and he is determined to get it. I want to see how much longer you can last. Wang Lin and Du Tian quickly returned to the soul refining sect. The soul refining sect was just as they left it. When they returned, Du Tian didn't stop for a break before taking Wang Lin straight to the back mountain. Once inside, Du Tian handed a bag of holding over to Wang Lin. He looked at Wang Lin and said, "Focus only on reaching the soul transformation stage. With me guarding you, as long as I am alive, no one will bother you." Wang Lin stared at Du Tian. After a while, he whispered, "Thank you." Du Tian laughed and waved his hand. "No need to thank me, just remember what you promised me." Wang Lin took a deep breath and seriously said, "Senior, rest assured." Du Tian nodded and disappeared from the cave. When he reappeared, he was outside the cave. He sat down with his divine sense spread out and began to guard Wang Lin. The 1 billion soul flag silently flapped before him. This Seng Niu really has guts to make the soul flag explode. Luckily, he only had the sub-flag, so all of the soul fragments were just illusions created by the main flag. Although 100 million soul fragments exploded there, they weren't destroyed. I'd be really heartbroken if they were real. Du Tian looked at the flag and thought of the past. He didn't look like he was looking at a treasure but at his seniors. A hint of sadness appeared in Du Tian's eyes as he whispered, "Ancestors of the soul refining sect, Junior Du Tian is about to come meet you all." He pointed on the 1 billion soul flag, and one primary soul flew out. This soul had a gentle expression and exuded the air of a celestial. Du Tian stared at the soul. He sighed and muttered to himself, "Senior apprentice brother, I don't know if I'm right or wrong to hand the soul flag over to Seng Niu. However, with the battle between the Forsaken Immortal clan and the country of Suzaku, our soul refining sect will be hard to save. But this Seng Niu will leave the planet so we can help my soul refining sect start again elsewhere. Maybe that is the true meaning behind your prediction." Du Tian looked at the gentle primary soul and whispered, "I have lived my life not hoping to live forever but to die in peace. All of the previous ancestors of my soul refining sect willingly gave up going back into the reincarnation cycle and wiped out their consciousnesses to become primary souls. I, Du Tian, won't be any different. Senior apprentice brother, wait for me. I'll join you soon." Quickly approaching 3,900 words, Leo fierce as a tiger. Wishing for sharing, for likes on the video, for channel followers. Chapter 421 Soul Transformation. Wang Lin sat in the lotus position inside the cave and took out the bag Du Tian had given him. After scanning it with his divine sense, his expression became strange. He knew that Du Tian had taken a lot of celestial jades, but he didn't know the exact number. Whenever those sects handed over the celestial jades, Du Tian would instantly put them inside this bag. Now that he saw them, he couldn't help but feel shocked. This tiny bag contains more than 100 times the celestial jades I got from the celestial realm. No wonder this soul refining sect has had so many soul transformation cultivators. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He shook the bag, and then a large number of celestial jades surrounded him. In an instant, the cave was filled with rich celestial spiritual energy. This was only a portion of what was in the bag. Wang Lin carefully put the bag away and began to cultivate to absorb the celestial spiritual energy. The celestial spiritual energy flooded into his body and began to refine the spiritual energy inside him. Wang Lin had already experienced this before, so he easily started it again to begin his breakthrough to the soul transformation stage. As a large amount of celestial spiritual energy entered his body, all of the spiritual energy inside him condensed into a ball. This ball was like a cultivator's golden core, but the difference was like heaven and earth. 3 days later, the celestial jades around Wang Lin turned gray and cracks appeared on them. Then they finally turned to dust. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to slap the bag once more. He took out a large number of celestial jades again. The absorption of celestial spiritual energy never stopped. It quickly entered Wang Lin's body to refine the spiritual energy inside him, as well as his flesh and bones. The first step to the soul transformation stage is to completely refine the body so that it can withstand the power of celestial spiritual energy. Before the celestial realm collapsed, there was no need to do all of this. All they had to do was go into the spirit cleansing pool for a few months to rid themselves of their mortal bodies and obtain one that could withstand celestial spiritual energy. However, now that the celestial realm is destroyed and the spirit cleansing pools are gone, cultivators need a large number of celestial jades to remove their mortal roots. When one's mortal roots are completely removed, the first step is complete. The second step is for one's origin soul to go from non-corporeal to corporeal. Although it can replace the physical body, a corporeal origin soul is several times more powerful and has the ability to protect itself. A way to look at it is like this. The nascent soul is like a baby, and the origin soul is the baby growing up to become a youth. Next, the soul transformation stage brings about a mysterious change. The youth grows up into a powerful young adult, with weapons in his hands. At this stage, the origin soul is far more powerful than an origin soul at the soul formation stage. Situnan's soul being so large is a sign that he has broken past the soul transformation stage. Even an ascendant cultivator's soul is the same size as a soul transformation cultivator's. Only when one breaks past the ascendant stage to the next step will there be other changes. However, that level was too far for Wang Lin to consider. Time slowly passed. A large number of the celestial jades in his bag had already been absorbed, and surrounding him were marks of celestial jades that had turned to dust. The ball of spiritual energy in his dantian cracked on this day, and a powerful suction force came from the crack. All of the celestial spiritual energy Wang Lin had absorbed was sucked in. Even the celestial jades he had just taken out turned to dust as the celestial spiritual energy from them was sucked into that crack. The ball of spiritual energy gradually changed colors. It had started out green and was now glowing gold. Wang Lin's mind was still clear, so he calmly watched the change in his body as if he was watching someone else. Shortly after, when all of the celestial spiritual energy was absorbed by the ball of spiritual energy, the ball became completely golden. If one were to pull it out of his body, it would look exactly like a golden core. Just at this moment the golden core trembled, and then more and more cracks appeared on it. Then with a bang, all of the celestial spiritual energy in Wang Lin's body rushed outwards and pushed his origin soul out until it was 3 inches away from him. He tried to return it, but there was a powerful force preventing him. Wang Lin's origin soul floated above his body. When he looked down, he could see all the changes happening to his origin soul. When the golden core shattered, the force of the celestial spiritual energy shattered all of the meridians in his body. Right now, his body was like an empty shell filled with celestial spiritual energy. All of the pores on his body opened and released strands of celestial spiritual energy. Shortly after, all of the celestial spiritual energy that came out of his pores went back into his body through his orifices. This process turned into a cycle. Wang Lin's body gradually became transparent, and then his clothes slowly disappeared. His 2 bags of holding fell to the ground. The celestial spiritual energy slowly formed meridians inside his body. These meridians were made of celestial spiritual energy, so they would naturally be able to withstand the power of celestial spiritual energy. The flesh on his body started to change too as celestial spiritual energy began to ingrain into this body. Right now, he looked like a celestial being. This process of changing his entire body lasted an unknown amount of time. For this whole period of time, Wang Lin's origin soul was floating above his body. He tried countless times to re-enter his body but was stopped outside. It was as if the body no longer belonged to him and he could not fuse with it anymore. On this day, his body began to release a fragrance. This fragrance was very alluring. It was as if some spirit herb had just been unearthed. The fragrance floated out of the cave, causing Dutien's eyes to light up. His eyes revealed a glint of admiration, and he sighed. The first step to the soul transformation stage, body refinement, is complete. Now it's time for the second step, origin soul refining. His hand formed a seal, then a black light immediately surrounded the cave and prevented the fragrance from spreading. The fragrance that results from completing the first step of the soul transformation stage attracts powerful beasts and devils that want to possess the body. However, my soul refining sect specializes in souls, so it's fine if those devils don't come, but if they do, then they can become food for the 1 billion soul flag. I am not afraid of those beasts either. The soul refining sect's protection formation can keep them all outside. There hasn't been a beast that could make me scared yet. This one dangerous trial of reaching the soul transformation stage was nothing to Wang Lin with Du Tian protecting him, but for those rogue cultivators or weak sects, it was life-threatening. During the transformation, the origin soul is forced out of the body, and the body is left defenseless. If there are some powerful devils or souls around, they can easily possess or devour the body. Even beasts are very interested in a body that has just reached the soul transformation stage. To them, the body is like a natural treasure, and devouring it would increase their strength. Once the origin soul returns to the body and claims the energy inside, then the body becomes useless to the beasts. Inside the cave, Wang Lin reached out with his origin soul and took out a large number of celestial jades. This time the celestial spiritual energy wasn't absorbed by the body but by his origin soul. A very comfortable feeling filled Wang Lin's soul. He could feel the celestial spiritual energy enter his origin soul, causing it to become larger and more corporeal. At this moment, Wang Lin understood that once his origin soul becomes corporeal, he will be able to re-enter his body, and he will have successfully reached the soul transformation stage. It takes a very long time for the origin soul to become corporeal. Outside the cave, Du Tian's eyes lit up and he waved his left hand. A golden-purple primary soul flew out, grabbed a black rogue soul, and dragged it into the soul flag. Du Tian muttered, "This is already the 19th one already. Unfortunately, they are all soul formation soul fragments. If there was a soul transformation one, then the soul flag would have another primary soul." Just at this moment, a golden-purple light flew in from the distance. The protection formation didn't stop it, so it charged directly to the cave. Du Tian's eyes lit up and he let out a laugh. He had made it so that the formation wouldn't stop souls. That was why they had been getting in. Good come. Du Tian's eyes lit up and he moved. He jumped into the air and reached toward the golden-purple soul. The golden-purple light disappeared and dodged Du Tian's hand. Then it charged toward the cave. Seeing that the soul fragment was about to enter the cave, Du Tian quickly moved and in an instant appeared before the soul fragment. He laughed. "Unfortunately, you haven't reached the soul transformation stage. You are only at the border. You won't be able to escape." His hand formed a seal and a giant vortex appeared. Du Tian shouted, "Soul vortex!" The soul fragment let out a scream and quickly backed up, but Du Tian was one step ahead. He said, "Capture!" A powerful suction force came from the vortex, and the golden-purple soul fragment was dragged toward the vortex. Du Tian let out a smile, but just at this moment, a loud bang came from the soul refining sect's protection formation. The formation trembled, and then completely collapsed. This loud bang immediately echoed throughout the soul refining sect. Even the three main mountains trembled as a large number of rocks fell off, and cracks appeared on them, terrifying the disciples inside. In the sky, a red figure wearing a red robe appeared. This figure gave off an unimaginably powerful aura. At this moment, the sky lost its color, and only this figure existed. Zhuge. Du Tian's expression was very ugly. He didn't have time to play with this soul fragment, so he waved the 1 billion soul flag and captured it. Tears streaming long, wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 422, Zhuge. Du Tian. Zhuge was wearing a fiery red robe and his hair was moving without any wind. Although he looked ancient, he still exuded a very oppressive aura. This person casually stood there as the sky darkened. All of the light was coming from his fiery robe, completely displaying his dominance over planet Suzaku. One couldn't feel a strand of spiritual energy or even celestial spiritual energy in his body. But early-stage ascendant cultivators would be forced to retreat, and even mid-stage ascendant old monsters would unconsciously back up. He was the only late-stage ascendant cultivator on planet Suzaku. The true ruler of planet Suzaku. Zhuge calmly said, "Back then, my country of Suzaku made an agreement with your soul-refining sect. When the country of Suzaku is in danger, you must lend us the 1 billion soul flag." Today this old man is here to borrow the flag. Dutian, bring it here! Nonsense. Dutian gripped the 1 billion soul flag tightly as he stared at Zhuge and shouted, "How come I have never heard of this agreement from any of the ancestors before? Old thief Zhuge, if you want to steal it, just come and take it. No need to put on this disgusting act." Zhuge looked at Dutian, shook his head slightly, and sighed. This matter was decided between the first-generation Suzaku and your founding ancestor, so it's as natural that you don't know about. But I found out about it in some old records. Today I am not here to steal, but to borrow. With that, he reached out. The sky changed colors, and red light gathered from all directions. The red light formed a giant red hand that pressed down toward Dutian. Dutian shouted, "Old thief!" He waved the soul flag and without any hesitation released all 1 billion soul fragments. Aside from the fourth soul, the remaining 35 primary souls were also sent out. Everything 100 kilometers was covered in soul fragments. Their screams and shrills filled the area. The combined voice of the 1 billion soul fragments was more powerful than any soundwave treasure. The earth within 100 kilometers began to tremble and the surrounding mountains collapsed. The 35 primary souls of the 1 billion soul fragment all had fierce expressions as they tore the red hand to pieces. Then they surrounded Zhuge and stared at him viciously. Zhuge looked at the surrounding 1 billion soul fragments. His pupils shrank slightly as he calmly said, "Dutian, since you remain so stubborn, this old man will have to punish you in place of your ancestors." I said I only wanted to borrow the 1 billion soul flag, so I'll borrow it, and then I will return it to you. Dutian laughed with mockery in his eyes. "Borrow? How long do you want to borrow it for?" Zhuge's expression was serious as he said, "Lend it to the country of Suzaku for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, we will naturally return it." Old thief Zhuge, my soul refining sect has a saying, if the flag is here, the sect still exists. If you want it, you can try to take it. Dutian's eyes became cold as his hands formed a seal and then he pointed at Zhuge. Fuse. The surrounding 1 billion soul fragments immediately began to gather on the 35 primary souls, and then the primary souls began to fuse with each other. Zhuge's eyes lit up. He couldn't allow this fusion to continue. He reached out and a red feather appeared in his hand. He sent the feather forward, then it suddenly began to burn and release a ghostly light. "Holy Suzaku flame!" Zhuge's ancient voice boomed from his mouth. The burning feather trembled and suddenly collapsed. A surge of fire began to spread with the feather as the center and immediately covered the surrounding 100 kilometers. The power of this flame was unimaginable. The 3 mountains of the soul refining sect were turned into black, viscous liquid. However, this liquid quickly turned to gas. Even the cave Wang Lin was in disappeared, and Wang Lin disappeared along with the cave. The entire soul refining sect disappeared from planet Suzaku. The hundreds of disciples and even the 3 soul formation elders hiding in the 3 golden rings weren't able to escape this calamity. The 35 primary soul fragments that were about to fuse were also surrounded by the fire. Black gas was floating up from their bodies and they all had painful expressions on their faces. Holy Suzaku Flame Dutian's face was very ugly. There were 3 ancient jades floating around him. They were blocking the flame. Zhuge's expression was calm as he slowly said, "Dutian, the heavens are just. I originally didn't want to do this, but Yuve forced me." Dutian took a deep breath, bit the tip of his tongue, spat out a large mouthful of blood, and sat down in the lotus position. Then his hand formed a seal and he said, "Soul escape." Dutian was in his original name but his Taoist name that his teacher had given him. He once told Wang Lin that all users of the soul flag have different ways of using it, and his special method was escaping. The 35 primary souls released a green light and then disappeared from within the fire. When they reappeared, they were before Dutian. "What is this?" Zhuge was surprised. "Fuse." Dutian spat out more blood. This time the blood landed on one of the primary souls. Then, in an instant, the 34 other primary souls fused with it. In the blink of an eye, an aura that could match Zhuge appeared and the sky seemed to have been split in 2. The left side was fiery red, representing Zhuge. The right side was black, representing the late-stage ascendant soul, formed by the 35 primary souls and 1 billion soul fragments. The moment this soul fragment appeared, it waved its hand, pushing all the flames that were on the right side to the left side. Like the sky, the ground was split between black and red. Zhuge Zi's pupils shrank. His expression was a bit ugly as he stared at the soul and said, "Not bad. With that power, it can be considered the top treasure of planet Suzaku." Zhu Tian's face was deathly pale. He only had less than 2 years left, and now that he had used the Soul Flag S fusion technique, he was almost out of time. He softly whispered, "Kill him." The late-stage Ascendant Soul Fragment didn't go forward, but raise its hand. A rumbling sound came from all directions as clouds gathered to form a human-shaped body. This body was made of clouds, and at a glance was no different from a mortal. The Ascendant Soul Fragment took a step forward and fused with the body made of clouds. The cloud person opened his ghostly eyes and stared at Zhuge Zi. To form a body from the clouds, that is indeed only something late-stage Ascendant cultivators can do. However, you are created from fusion. I want to see how long you can last. Zhuge Zi's expression was ugly. With that, he waved his hand. A red light appeared in front of him and transformed into a short, red sword. The moment the sword appeared, the flame on the ground was sucked into the sword. This sword is very ancient and no one knows its true name. The first generation Suzaku got it and named it the Suzaku sword. With that, Zhuge Zi pointed at the sword with his right hand. The flying sword immediately glowed red as if it were filled with celestial spiritual energy. This sword was no different from the sword of a celestial. This sword was a celestial treasure. The cloud person's eyes lit up and he waved his right hand. His entire right hand flew off and became a sword that was the same as the Suzaku sword. Aside from the color, it looked exactly the same as the Suzaku sword. Even the enormous amount of celestial spiritual energy was the same. Then he pointed at Zhuge Zi and the small white sword shot forth. The red and white swords collided with each other like meteors. After a series of collisions, the white sword was clearly no match and was pushed back. However, the red sword had taken hits from the white sword's powerful celestial spiritual energy, so it was slowed down. The cloud person stared at Zhuge Zi and let out a faint smile. Then his cloud body collapsed to form 8 more copies of the exact same sword. Each one of them contained an enormous amount of celestial spiritual energy. The 8 swords shot out at once. 3 of them went after the Suzaku sword and the remaining 5 went toward Zhuge Zi. Zhuge Zi's expression was ugly as he backed up few hundred feet. He slapped his bag of holding to take out a gourd, then he muttered, "Collect!" The 5 swords were surrounded by a powerful force and then, in the blink of an eye, were trapped inside the gourd. Zhuge Zi's eyes lit up. He was about to use the gourd to collect the 3 other swords, but just at that moment, he heard crackling sounds coming from the gourd. A second later, a heaven-shattering sound escaped from it. With a bang, the gourd shattered. The 5 swords flew out and stabbed toward Zhuge Zi without any hesitation. At the same time, the swords that were fighting the Suzaku sword seemed to have received an order, because they ditched the Suzaku sword and quickly flew over. Zhuge Zi's expression changed greatly and he quickly backed up. It was not that he was no match, but the soul formed by the soul flag was filled with death and was attacking him without any regard for its own safety. Although he was confident he could win, he would definitely be injured. Normally it wouldn't matter, but right now he didn't have much lifespan left either. If he was injured here, his lifespan would shorten. Another important matter was that the second battle with the Forsaken Immortal clan had already begun. If he got injured here, it would be very unfortunate. The like button for the VIDEO is in danger. Urgently wishing for the like button for the VIDEO's aid. Chapter 423, The Wise and Sorrowful King. However, although he wanted to retreat, the swords formed by the cloud person were even faster than lightning, so they quickly approached him. Zhuge Zi's eyes were gloomy, as his hand created a seal before him. The moment this seal appeared, a powerful aura surrounded Zhuge Zi. At this moment, the flying swords arrived. Boom! A sound that shook the entire continent burst forth. Zhuge Zi flew back like a meteor and didn't stop for a while. The seal before him had collapsed. Although he wasn't injured, his face was deathly pale and the air of superiority he was emitting had disappeared. The 9 flying swords disappeared and turned back into soul fragments. Zhu Tian looked at the scene before him and bitterly said, "The mysterious Suzaku seal!" The mysterious Suzaku seal is a spell that only each generation Suzaku can learn. It can be cultivated, and is inherited from the previous Suzaku. This seal wasn't T created by the first generation Suzaku. It is a spell that was given to them by the cultivation union. This mysterious Suzaku seal 1T increase 1's cultivation level, but it is very powerful. There are only two uses for it: attacking and defending. Its attack can destroy everything, and its defense is even stronger than the entire Suzaku formation, even when it's protecting just one person. No one knows how the cultivation union managed to create this spell. On a ranked cultivation planet, only one person can know the spell at a time. Unless that person dies, no one else can use it. Even if the previous Suzaku is somehow still alive, when the current Suzaku learns the mysterious Suzaku seal, the previous Suzaku loses the power of the seal. Rumor has it that using the mysterious Suzaku seal has some cost, but only the people who have learned the spell know of the cost. The seal Zhuge-Z had just used was that seal. The cloud person shattered. Du Tian's face was deathly pale as he stared at Zhuge-Z, then he suddenly started laughing. My lifespan is almost all gone. To be able to see an old thief like you in this state is pretty satisfying. Zhuge-Z's expression was ugly and he was panting. He wouldn't have used the mysterious Suzaku seal unless he had to, especially if it was to use the seal to attack. He used it because he needed to keep himself in top condition for the battle against the Forsaken Immortal clan. Du Tian, your soul refining sect was once a branch of Suzaku, and your ancestors fought alongside the first generation Suzaku against the Forsaken Immortal clan. Why must you be so stubborn today? If you hand over the soul flag, I will help you rebuild the sect, help you gather disciples, and even help you make the soul refining sect its own country again. Du Tian's eyes lit up and then he let out a mischievous smile. Old thief Zhuge, I see through you now. You are afraid of getting hurt. Otherwise you wouldn't have ended up in such an embarrassing position. The war with the Forsaken Immortal clan has already started. I'm afraid you won't be able to stay here for long. Zhuge-Z frowned and coldly said, although the 11-leaf ancestor of the Forsaken Immortal clan is strong, I have an ace up my sleeve. Once that is revealed, the Forsaken Immortal clan will die for sure. Du Tian, I'll ask you one last time. Will you hand over the soul flag? Du Tian's eyes became cold. He took a cold breath and waved his hand. A golden purple light began to flash on the flag, but it was unstable. Old thief Zhuge, I advise you to leave now and not force me to bring out the fourth soul. Du Tian's voice was filled with determination. Zhuge-Z's expression was ugly, but he sneered inside. He had been waiting for the fourth soul to appear. In fact, what he really wanted all along was the fourth soul. Every generation of Suzaku has studied the fourth soul in hopes of finding a way to defeat the 1 billion soul flag. Zhuge-Z was 80% confident in beating it. That was why he came today. After pondering a bit, Zhuge-Z slowly said, I have read about the power of the fourth soul in records, but I haven't seen it in person. Borrowing this chance, I really want to see just what is so special about this fourth soul. Du Tian clenched his teeth and pointed at his forehead with his left hand. He took out a ball of golden light and quickly pressed it onto the soul flag. The golden purple dot on the soul flag quickly flew out. The world is divided into 5 elements that neutralize each other and create different types of spirit roots. Having 1 element means you can cultivate. Have 2 means you are smart. Having 3 means you have talent. Having 4 means you have heavenly talent. And having 5 means you are complete. The 5 elements are metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Having 2 is rare. Have 3 is even more rare. Having 4 is almost unheard of. And no one has even heard of anyone having all 5. The fourth soul was a rare person who had 3 elements, but this talent didn't manifest when he was alive. He lived like most and died when he was at the soul transformation stage. But the soul refining sect refined his soul with a special technique that turned it into something that could threaten even late-stage ascendant cultivators. To capture this soul, one requires a lot of determination, and they must open the cultivation planet crystal when one's lifespan is almost up. This part of the record flashed through Zhuge's head. Zhuge-Z said, in a serious tone, 3 metal soul. Du Tian let out a hoarse laugh. His eyes were dim because the last of his lifespan has just been used to activate the fourth soul. The fourth soul couldn't be brought out via normal means. One must give up their life force to call it out of the soul flag. The moment the fourth soul appeared, it released a blinding golden purple glow. Inside the glow was only one thing, a thin needle. This needle wasn't large, only as long as a thumb. It gave off a very powerful aura, far more powerful than the aura the Suzaku sword gave off. 3-metal soul was a heavenly treasure that could penetrate all substances, and its soul force could even harm origin souls. Du Tian's eyes lit up and he said, "Fourth soul, kill!" The golden purple needle flashed and disappeared. Zhu Kezi's expression changed as he quickly backed up. At the same time, he waved his hand, causing the Suzaku sword to block before him. With a ding, a needle-sized hole appeared on the Suzaku sword. At the same time, Zhu Kezi let out a roar as he pointed to the air with his index finger. Celestial spiritual energy surged through his body and he pressed down with his index finger. With a bang, Zhu Kezi backed up 3 steps. The golden purple light had disappeared without a trace once more, but Zhu Kezi knew that the fourth soul was still around. His expression was cold as he said, "The fourth soul is indeed strong. But Du Tian, if you were at the early stage of Ascendant and had used celestial spiritual energy beyond what a soul transformation cultivator can, you would be able to make it even faster and more powerful. I would have to run today if that were the case. However, if you want to kill me, the fourth soul isn't fast enough." Zhu Kezi's words had a purpose. The fourth soul he wanted to capture wasn't what it was now. He wanted the fourth soul in a much more powerful state. The only way for it to achieve a more powerful state was for it to devour a large amount of soul fragments and primary souls. It has to be said that in terms of scheming, Du Tian couldn't match Zhu Kezi. Du Tian stared at Zhu Kezi as he pointed to the air, and the soul fragments collapsed. The way they collapsed was very strange. Every time there was a purple flash of light, a soul fragment would collapse. This happened very quickly, and soon a portion of the soul fragments had collapsed. The purple light became faster and faster until one could only see a purple line. Countless soul fragments were absorbed by the fourth soul. Du Tian wasn't in a position to worry about the soul fragments. Zhu Kezi's eyes lit up. He was about to move up when he suddenly stepped back. A needle-sized hole suddenly appeared in his hand and fresh blood dripped out from the wound. At this moment, more souls collapsed. Because 10 primary souls were devoured by the fourth soul, its speed had reached an unimaginable speed. Du Tian's heart ached, because 1/3 of the 1 billion soul flag was devoured by the fourth soul in an instant along with 10 primary souls. The 1 billion soul flag hadn't suffered this kind of loss in a long time. Du Tian took a deep breath and shouted, "Fourth soul, stop!" The golden purple light paused as it hummed and then charged toward Zhu Kezi. Zhu Kezi sighed. He wanted to wait until the fourth soul had devoured all of the souls before using the method the previous Suzakus had thought of to capture it. Unfortunately, Du Tian had stopped it from devouring. Zhu Kezi couldn't say anymore or his purpose would be exposed. Zhu Kezi continued to back up while he kept pointing at the air before him. A series of shattering sounds could be heard, causing Zhu Kezi to back up even faster. Many wounds the size of a needle appeared on him and blood flowed out of them. Every time a hole appeared, his expression became more ugly and his aura weakened. However, his blood began to cover the fourth soul. Zhu Kezi's eyes became cold as he slapped his bag of holding and took out a small red gourd. His hand formed a seal, and he said, "Refine." With one word, a thread of white flame came out from the small gourd. The surrounding 1,000 feet immediately became a sea of fire. This fire was even stronger than the holy Suzaku flame. Let's see if your 3-metal soul is stronger than the celestial flame gourd. I am going to refine this fourth soul. Inside the sea of flames, the golden purple needle appeared and turned red. Although it didn't melt, Zhu Kezi's blood slowly fused with the fourth soul during this refining. At this moment, the fourth soul quickly began to spin, causing a gust of wind that blew an opening in the sea of fire. "Soul, escape!" Du Tian shouted. The golden purple needle disappeared and flew toward Zhu Kezi. Zhu Kezi's eyes lit up. A look of joy appeared in his face and he laughed. "Du Tian, since you don't want to hand over the soul flag, I want to insist on taking it, but I'll be taking this fourth soul." Zhu Kezi slapped his bag of holding and took out a small chunk of black mud. He spat some blood on the black mud, and then a strand of black gas came out from it. Zhu Kezi's hand guided the strand of black gas a few times to form a strange symbol. This old man uses his status as the current Suzaku and gives 90% of my remaining lifespan to open the cultivation planet crystal. I want to use the stop domain that the cultivation union gifted to us. His right hand pointed at the symbol, and then it quickly flew out and disappeared 3 feet before Zhu Kezi. At this moment, everything within 1,000 feet paused. The moment the symbol disappeared, there was a flash of golden-purple light, and then the golden-purple needle appeared. Zhu Kezi reached out and caught the fourth soul. At this moment, time began to move again. Zhu Kezi stepped forward. His face revealed a fierce expression, and he reached toward Du Tian. Du Tian let out a sigh. He turned around to look at the cave that had been destroyed by the flame and closed his eyes. But just as Zhu Kezi reached out, a dark laugh came from where the cave that Wang Lin was in was. Scram for this old man. Zhu Kezi's expression changed. He felt pain from his origin soul and felt fear that he had never felt after he became the Suzaku. The like button for the VIDEO has dropped to 5th place. Tears brimming and wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. Chapter Situnan. Waves of forsaken immortal clan members were gathering inside the endless black cloud on the eastern side of the continent of Suzaku. In the center of the black cloud sat countless forsaken immortal clan members. They were all chanting in unison. The power of their tattoos had moved out from their bodies and floated in the air. The tattoo power quickly rose up to the air. Every 2 hours, these clan members would use up all of the tattoo power in their bodies, and then another group would switch places with them to continue the chant. This process had lasted for several months. On this day, a middle-aged man wearing a gray robe appeared. He had no tattoos on his body other than a purple leaf on his left cheek that was emitting a purple glow. He stood there as he stared at the large amount of clan members in the center, and revealed a thoughtful look. Behind him followed 3 old men. The aura the 3 of them gave off was exactly the same as the 8-leaf old man who chased Wang Lin before. One of the old men respectfully said, "5th ancestor, it is time. The 4th ancestor has already activated it on the ancestral tree side." The middle-aged man nodded and said, "The ancestral tree was freed because the ancient ancestor gave up his life and used his body to break the 5-sword seal. We can fail this time. The 4 sub-trees of the ancestral tree have surrounded the continent of Suzaku. This time the country of Suzaku will be destroyed." The old man's eyes revealed a hint of excitement, but that quickly disappeared as he said, "5th ancestor, about 2nd ancestor." The middle-aged man frowned and said, "Don't bother with him. He has been in the country of Suzaku for too long and thinks differently than us. If it wasn't for his unwillingness to fight, we could have wiped out the country of Suzaku in that battle a few years ago. I just don't believe that the cultivation planet crystal that the country of Suzaku holds has the power he spoke of." The old man nodded and no longer spoke. "The people of the corpse sect are here." The middle-aged man looked into the distance. A large coffin was quickly closing in from outside the eastern edge of the continent of Suzaku. On top of the coffin sat 3 people. The 3 of them all had white hair. Aside from the one in the middle, who was at the early stage of soul transformation, the other 2 were at the late stage of soul formation. The 3 of them were sitting on the coffin, which moved very fast. In the blink of an eye, they arrived before the black cloud. The tattoo symbols in the black cloud flashed to prevent them from entering. The early stage soul transformation old man from the corpse sect said, "I am the elder of the corpse sect on planet Suzaku, and the 2 behind me are corpse deacons. I asked the forsaken immortal sect to open the tattoo formation." The tattoos inside the black cloud flashed again and a tunnel appeared. The large coffin from the corpse sect quickly flew inside. The coffin stopped at the center of the black cloud. The early stage soul transformation elder from the corpse sect jumped down. Before him was the middle-aged man and the 3 8-leaf shamans. The middle-aged man calmly said, "Elder Sima, I have been waiting for you." The corpse sect elder laughed and said, "I am late because I encountered some trouble on the way. Aside from delivering the corpses, I am also here to tell your forsaken immortal clan a piece of news." The middle-aged man looked at the corpse sect elder with calm eyes as he waited for the news. The corpse sect elder's eyes lit up, and with a smile that was not a smile, he said, "Zhu Kezi went to the soul refining sect and is having a battle with Du Tian to steal the 1 billion soul flag." The middle-aged man's expression remained the same. Then he smiled. "What was the result?" The corpse sect elder laughed. "That I don't know, but with my corpse sect's understanding of the current Suzaku, if he went, then he must be at least 80% confident. Your forsaken immortal clan will have to be careful." The middle-aged man's expression hadn't changed yet. He was just about to speak when his expression suddenly changed. He looked toward Pilu at the northern end of the continent of Suzaku. From there, he felt an aura that made him tremble. Zhuge had long forgotten what pain from his origin soul felt like. Right now, he felt the fear he had only felt back when he met the last generation Suzaku. Zhuge was, after all, someone from a high position, so he quickly calmed himself and asked, "Your Excellency, who are you?" A ray of rainbow-colored light flashed by as Wang Lin appeared. He floated in the air with his hair flowing without any wind, but he gave off an extremely strange aura. His body was emitting a blue aura, a cold aura that could freeze anything in the world. The current Wang Lin was completely naked, translucent, and glistening. His eyes were no longer clear but filled with an evil aura. Xianxia's eyes were also filled with evil, but compared to Wang Lin's, it was like a campfire next to the sun. This evil aura inside Wang Lin's eyes only represented one word: arrogance. Arrogance, much arrogance, an extreme arrogance that saw everything in the world as below him and no one in the world could match him. He casually looked at Zhuge. This gaze was several times brighter than lightning. Zhuge's body trembled. At this moment, he really felt like he did back in the past. He felt the same fear from when he faced the previous Suzaku. He quickly backed up, and for the first time in a long time, cold sweat came out from his forehead. You are Wang Lin. No, you aren't Wang Lin. Your Excellency, who are you? Zhuge took a deep breath and hid the terror in his eyes. This old man asked you which generation Suzaku you are. These words filled with arrogance came out of Wang Lin's mouth. His tone contained a you-have-to-answer feel. Du Tian stared at the scene. When he looked at Wang Lin, he felt a strong sense of unfamiliarity. His time with Wang Lin wasn't short, so he was immediately able to tell that this person wasn't him. There wasn't any way for Wang Lin to have this kind of pressure and this kind of I am above everyone else arrogance. This type of pressure and arrogance could only be found on old monsters that have cultivated for countless years. Zhuge didn't want to reply, but he involuntarily said, 14th generation Suzaku. Wang Lin pondered a bit before coldly looking at Zhuge and saying, "On the behalf of Yi Wu, this old man won't kill you. Now, scram." Yi Wu? Du Tian was startled. He had never heard this name before. However, after Zhuge heard this name, his expression changed like it never had before. He immediately backed up even more, and the terror inside him could no longer remain hidden, so it showed on his face. Zhuge took in a breath of cold air, and his body shook as if he had been hit by lightning. His gaze toward Wang Lin was no longer just filled with shock, it also contained a deep sense of horror. Yi Wu Yu was a name that only every generation of Suzaku would know. No one else knew, not even the ancestors from the sects in Suzaku. They only knew that there was someone with the Taoist name of Suzaku. Yi Wu Wu was the real name of the first generation Suzaku. As Zhuge looked at the blue aura around Wang Lin's body, he recalled the history of the past Suzakus until he locked onto one identity. At this moment, the terror in his eyes became even more intense. He respectfully clasped his hands toward Wang Lin without any hesitation and said, "Greetings, ancestor. Junior will leave now." With that, he quickly retreated. Du Tian's eyes lit up and he shouted, "Leave behind the fourth soul." Zhuge stopped. His eyes showed that he was struggling to make a decision, and then he suddenly turned around and looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a trace of the past as he said, "Back then this old man owed Yi Wu." "Forget it. Since you are using it to fight the Forsaken Immortal clan, this old man will lend it to you for 3 years. 3 years from now, you will return it to me." Du Tian panicked and was about to speak when Wang Lin looked at him. When Du Tian looked back, he could no longer see Wang Lin. There was only an unfamiliar aura that said something like, "I'll kill you if you speak," and he knew that this person would kill him without any hesitation. Du Tian's heart trembled, and he no longer dared to speak. Zhuge let out a breath of relief. If that person wanted the fourth soul back no matter what, he might had to fight him. However, from what he had heard about this person, Zhuge lacked even the smallest amount of confidence in fighting him. Zhuge clasped his hands and was about to leave. But Wang Lin's eyes showed a flash of arrogance and he said, "Since you have guessed this old man's identity, then you must know my rules. Are you just going to leave like this?" Zhuge pondered a bit and raised his right hand. He waved his left hand and cut 2 fingers off his right hand. This matter is Junior S' fault. Are 2 fingers enough? Wang Lin shook his head and arrogantly said, "Leave another one behind." Zhuge Zi clenched his teeth. He waved his left hand to cut off another finger. His face was pale as he looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin then said, "Scram!" Zhuge Zi quickly left without turning his head. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a ray of light and disappeared. 100,000 kilometers away, Zhuge Zi clenched his teeth and let out a roar at the sky. Second generation Suzaku. How can he be still alive? How can he still be on planet Suzaku? How can it be? The third generation Suzaku schemed against him by luring foreign cultivators over. How is he not dead? He roared the entire way back until he was above the country of Suzaku. He suddenly stopped as he looked back toward Pilu. The anger was now gone, but it was replaced with suspicion. Something is wrong. Going by what I know about the second generation Suzaku, there is no way he would go easy on me. Could it be that he has just awakened and was faking it? Forgot to mention, at the end of the month, wishing for the like button for the video. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 425 Boy. Zhuge Zi pondered a bit. His expression became very unsettled before he let out a sigh. He really didn't have the guts to go test his theory. He stomped his foot on the ground and a large crack appeared in the sky as he stared viciously at the direction of Pilu. Second generation Suzaku, Zhuge Zi flew toward Mount Suzaku, inside the soul refining sect in Pilu. Wang Lin's figure wavered and then fell from the sky after he made sure that Zhuge Zi had left. Du Tian was shocked and quickly went up to Wang Lin. The current Wang Lin's face was pale and his eyes were closed. He was clearly in pain. Du Tian took a few closer looks, then his expression changed greatly and he shouted, "Possession!" He instantly clenched his teeth and raised his hand. He was about to press his hand down on Wang Lin's forehead to help him fight the possession. However, just as he was about to press down, Wang Lin opened his eyes. His eyes were now clear and contained none of the arrogance from before. Wang Lin weakly said, "Senior, stop." Du Tian stared at Wang Lin and said, in a serious tone, "What exactly happened?" "You were way too rash, you little brat. Couldn't you see the severity of the situation? If this old man had his old temper, I would kill you with a slap. Don't think that because your lifespan is about to be up, this old man can make you taste what it's like for your life to be slowly drained away." A very arrogant voice came from Wang Lin's brow. Shortly after, a green light flew out from Wang Lin's forehead and stood on the side. This green light took the form of a large middle-aged man with a rough face and a large build. The moment he appeared, he released a powerful aura. The sky's color suddenly changed. Due to the impact of this person's aura, clouds began to form. Lightning could be seen and rain began to fall. The middle-aged man raised his head toward the sky and shouted, "Scatter for his old man. Did I let you rain?" With just one roar, the clouds in the sky scattered without a trace. Even the rain that was falling was blown away. Not even a single drop had landed. Du Tian's body trembled violently as he stared dumbfoundedly at the scene before him. He was unable to say a word. Wang Lin bitterly smiled and let out a cough. When the holy Suzaku flame arrived, Wang Lin's origin soul had already returned to his body and he had reached the soul transformation stage. However, there was no way for him to help in the fight between Du Tian and Zhuge Zi, so when the holy Suzaku flame appeared, he hid inside the heaven-defying bead. When he went in there, Situnan awakened. The just awakened Situnan had a fierce image, but in reality he was very weak. They didn't even have time to talk before Situnan noticed what was going on outside, entered Wang Lin's body, and scared Zhuge Zi away. It has to be said that Situnan's acting skill was very powerful. When Situnan made Zhuge Zi cut off his fingers, Wang Lin was extremely nervous, but Situnan wasn't nervous at all and was as arrogant as he always was. Afterwards, Wang Lin asked why he had asked Zhuge Zi to leave behind the fingers. Could he not have been afraid of Zhuge Zi retaliating? Situnan's response was, "Because I am Situnan." Earlier you almost ruined my plan by asking for that fourth soul, you little brat. If I had let that little thieving sparrow see through me, this old man would have had to go back to sleep right after waking up. As for that fourth soul, once I find a body and recover my cultivation, I'll just kill my way up Mount Suzaku and steal it back for you. Situnan glared at Du Tian. Du Tian hadn't been called the little brat for thousands of years. He could only warily smile and ask, Senior is? Situnan raised his head and arrogantly said, Wang Lin, tell this little brat who I am. Wang Lin wryly smiled. He looked at Du Tian and said, He is Situnan. Situnan? Du Tian thought for a very long time and couldn't think of any expert named Situnan. Then Wang Lin said, The second generation Suzaku. Du Tian's body trembled and he staggered backwards. His eyes were filled with extreme shock. He finally understood why Zhukazi was scared away. The fame of the second generation Suzaku was too large. In some ways it even exceeded the first generation Suzaku's fame. Shortly after, Du Tian took a deep breath. He respectfully bowed towards Situnan and said, Junior Du Tian from the Soul Refining Sect greets Senior. Situnan nodded and said, Considering the fact that you protected Wang Lin and are giving him the 1 billion soul flag, this old man promises you that if there is an opportunity, I'll help you revive the Soul Refining Sect. Situnan reminisced about the past. If it wasn't for his good friend from the Soul Refining Sect, he wouldn't even have had the time to escape into the heaven-defying bee during the battle with the foreign cultivators. Du Tian revealed a smile on his face. He had given up his entire life for the Soul Refining Sect, and it was the thing he worried about the most in his life. This was why he was willing to use the end of his life to befriend Wang Lin. It was all in order to find a way to keep his Soul Refining Sect alive. Zhukazi's arrival made Du Tian despair. However, things changed so fast that he felt like he had experienced an entire lifetime already. Now that the second generation Suzaku had personally promised to keep the Soul Refining Sect alive, Du Tian was satisfied. He sat down in the lotus position with a smile on his face and slowly closed his eyes. Senior apprentice brother, your prediction worked. I, Du Tian, can meet you, teacher, and all of the previous ancestors with a smile. I, Du Tian, am not a sinner of the Soul Refining Sect. I found a new hope for the Soul Refining Sect. I can see that in the future my Soul Refining Sect will become an existence beyond a rank cultivation country. I, Du Tian, have left my mark on the history of the Soul Refining Sect. Teacher, I managed to accomplish what I promised you. I, Du Tian, am willing to wipe away my consciousness to enter the Soul Flag for eternity. On a rainy night on a public road, the bandits killed everyone, and among the rubble was a youth crying. With a long sigh, an old man walked out from the rain. After gently rubbing the youth's head, he revealed a gentle smile and said only one sentence. Are you willing to come with me? The youth grew up inside the Soul Refining Sect. The talented youth immediately stood out among the other disciples. He did all of this just because of that one sentence. In order to follow the old man's footsteps, he cultivated hard every day. Day by day, year by year, he continued this boring cultivation until he comprehended the heavens and reached the soul formation stage. He became the old man's disciple, was given the Taoist name Du Tian, and followed the old man everywhere. Time was like a song. There will be a day when the song ends and people leave. Before his teacher's soul entered the 1 billion soul flag, he made a promise to protect the Soul Refining Sect for the rest of his life, only for that one sentence in his youth. Are you willing to come with me? Teacher, disciple, is coming. Du Tian let out a smile as he closed his eyes. The last bit of his life force disappeared. A ray of golden purple light flew out from his brow. The 1 billion soul flag suddenly appeared, and with a wave, the golden purple light disappeared inside it. Although the 1 billion soul flag had lost 1/3 of its soul fragments, 10 primary souls, and the 4th soul, it was still the 1 billion soul flag. This 30-foot flag represented the roots of the Soul Refining Sect. It seemed to have a mind of its own as it floated toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin raised his right hand and grabbed the soul flag. Then he looked at the smiling Du Tian with a complex expression and melancholy. He kneeled down and kowtowed toward Du Tian. Although Senior wasn't my teacher, you treated me as your disciple. I will never forget about this. The melancholy in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger. In truth, his time spent with Du Tian wasn't very long, but Du Tian's kindness to him was engraved in his heart. Zhuke, one day I'll definitely find you and make you pay for wiping out the soul refining sect. Wang Lin looked at the direction of the country of Suzaku, and his eyes became cold. With a gust of wind, Du Tian's corpse began to slowly disintegrate, as if everything about this person was disappearing. Only in Wang Lin's memory did Du Tian's figure still remain. For you to meet this person was your luck. He is worthy of being remembered. Situ Nan let out a sigh. His voice was no longer filled with arrogance as he thought about his good friends in the past. Wang Lin pondered a bit and looked towards Situ Nan. What's your plan? Situ Nan's eyes lit up and the arrogance reappeared. He said, find a body with talent suitable for me, recover my cultivation, and look for those people who caused me to end up in this situation. If they have long died, then I'll take out my anger on their descendants. Situ Nan's personality had always been like this. Back then he kept teaching Wang Lin this almost demonic path of cultivation. The reason Wang Lin had killed so much had a lot to do with Situ Nan's influence. Wang Lin nodded and said, the heaven-defying bead has already fused with my soul and is unable to be removed. Without letting Wang Lin finish, Situ said, nonsense. It's all that damn bead's fault that I ended up in such a state. Even if you give it to me, I want it. Wang Lin looked at Situ Nan and whispered, Situ. What is it? Situ Nan rolled his eyes. Thank you. Situ Nan pondered. In truth, he had already guessed that the heaven-defying bead was a very rare treasure, most likely beyond a celestial treasure. But although he was a tyrannical and arrogant person, he highly valued the kindness others had shown him. The first Suzaku showed him kindness, and that was why he gave up on leaving the planet to stay behind and protect the country of Suzaku. The relationship between him and Wang Lin was very difficult, but that just made the relationship between them even closer. He had basically watched Wang Lin grow up as a cultivator, so to him Wang Lin was like his own disciple, which was why he couldn't ask for the heaven-defying bead. Situ Nan snorted as he turned his head and said, if you want to thank me, then go find me a body. Wait a bit, and let me check if there is a body suitable for me on this planet right now. Although this old man can fight enemies, I still have my spells, so finding a body should be easy. With that, Situ Nan's eyes lit up and his divine sense spread out. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he said, Zhuke has a disciple named Qian Feng. His body should be pretty good. Zhuke's disciple, forget it. I owe the first generation Suzaku. If you want to kill him, I don't care, but for me to do it, it's a bit too much, eh? How could this kind of body exist on planet Suzaku? Although this body is still only a boy, it is top-quality possession material. Not bad. I don't give a shit if he's just a kid. This boy is made for possession. Situ Nan looked toward the extreme north with eyes filled with joy. I forgot to say, the latest 3 chapters are all 4,000-word major chapters. Is Leo that kind? So this is the moon god. Is it the like button for the VIDEO? Do you all also start the VIDEO? Chapter 426, Cultivation Planet Crystal. Oh. Wang Lin looked toward Situ Nan. Situ Nan's eyes were filled with joy. With a smile he said, good, this old man has picked his body. Wang Lin, follow me to the North Pole. That is where the body I want is located. With that, he began flying. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding. The mosquito let out a roar and appeared before Wang Lin. He jumped onto the mosquito's back, sat down, and followed Situ Nan. Situ Nan turned around to look at the mosquito. His eyes lit up as he said, what kind of beast is that? Where did you find it? This old man is going to go catch one to play around with. The mosquito has always been tyrannical, but after feeling the aura form Situ Nan, it let out a few hums and backed away from him. Situ Nan stared at the mosquito beast for a while. In a flash, he appeared beside Wang Lin on the back of the mosquito and said, what are you running for? I'm not going to eat you. The mosquito's body trembled as it looked pleadingly at Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a faint smile as he rubbed the mosquito's large head. He took out a piece of jade and after imprinting some information on it, he handed it to Situ Nan. If you go there, you can catch as many mosquito beasts as you want. Situ Nan took the jade. After he scanned it, his expression immediately changed. He awkwardly said, never mind, I don't want one anymore. The jade Wang Lin gave him contained information on the planet where the ancient god found a large amount of mosquito beasts. Even with Situ Nan's pride, his heart trembled when he saw the information in the jade. He then looked at the mosquito beast with a strange expression. Situ Nan let out a mischievous smile and said, Wang Lin, how about we make a deal? Once I have a body, lend me the mosquito to study for a while. I'll only study it and not harm its life. Not possible. Wang Lin refused without any hesitation. Situ Nan panicked and said, I really want to kill it. It might become even stronger. Not possible. Wang Lin shook his head. Situ Nan's eyes widened as he stared at Wang Lin and shouted, Little brat, no one dares to refuse this old man. Back then, this old man wanted the first generation S concubine, and then I just stole her from him. As long as I want it, no one can refuse me. Are you going to give it to me? If not, I'll kill you with one slap, you unfilial kid. Wang Lin stared at Situ Nan. He didn't say a word but silently watched him. Shortly after, Situ Nan warily smiled and said, How did I end up with someone like you? When you were still a kid, it was me who adjusted your body so you could cultivate. And it was also me who gave you the idea to steal someone's foundation. And I also saved you many times. Did you forget about the time when the Tang family little brat chased you? Also, outside the Juming Valley, I risked my life to save you, and this is how you treat me. I am a pitiful old man. I don't have many desires. I just wanted to borrow the mosquito to study. Wang Lin felt his head start to ache. If Situ Nan had continued to play it tough, he would be able to ignore it. But now, every word Situ Nan was saying was landing on his heart. After a while, Wang Lin let out a helpless smile and said, Bye to you. I lend it to you. Situ Nan's expression suddenly changed to an arrogant one, and he laughed. Good, this is more like the person this old man picked. With that, he looked toward the mosquito and revealed a creepy smile. The mosquito's body trembled and it screamed. That smile almost caused it to fall from the sky. As they flew, Wang Lin pondered a bit and asked, Situ, do you know the Ji realm? Situ Nan's expression became serious as he said, The Ji Dao is the Jai of the three realms. Why are you asking this? Wang Lin looked at Situ Nan. In this world, aside from Li Muan, the only other person he could completely trust was Situ Nan. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding, and a blob of white light appeared. This white light gave off a pressure like divine retribution. Although this pressure wasn't dangerous to Wang Lin, it could kill any nascent soul cultivator that touches it. Situ Nan exclaimed in surprise. He picked up the white light, took a closer look, and his expression immediately changed greatly. His divine sense immediately spread out to check their surroundings before he threw the white light toward Wang Lin's bag. He sent the white light through Wang Lin's divine sense and directly into the bag. Situ Nan exclaimed, Why do you have the Ji realm? Wang Lin slowly said, Back in the Juming Valley, a sliver of this Ji realm appeared in my body. You were still sleeping then, so you didn't see it. Then my body was destroyed and you saved my soul before going back to sleep again. In the foreign battleground, my Ji realm reached its completion. The Ji realm is a very tyrannical substance. I don't have much information on it, but I know that the Cultivation Alliance is always looking for Ji realm cultivators. Whenever they find someone that has it, they kill them. You have to remember to never show it to anyone, especially the current Suzaku. Situ Nan's expression was very serious. Wang Lin nodded. He pondered a bit, and then said, I suspect this Ji realm has something to do with your underworld ascension cultivation method. Situ Nan was startled. He rubbed his chin and said, You might have a point, but there are some unknown variables at play here because then I would also have the Ji realm. As far as I know, the chances of the Ji realm appearing are simply too low. Also, it is too difficult to cultivate. The fact that you were able to remove it from your body without being affected is already very rare. Situ Nan looked at Wang Lin with appreciation in his eyes. Situ, I heard from someone that the cultivation planet crystal can help the Ji realm break through its limitations. Is that true? What exactly is the cultivation planet crystal? Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he finally asked the question he had been holding back for hundreds of years. You even know about the cultivation planet crystal. Situ Nan revealed a complex expression before letting out a sigh and saying, The cultivation planet crystal, that object is not a good thing. But if you want to leave this planet, you really do have to obtain it, or else it could cause problems in the future. The cultivation planet crystal is the most vicious thing the Cultivation Alliance uses to control a cultivation planet. Situ Nan was about to continue speaking when he suddenly looked into the distance and said, We'll talk about this later. Right now there are forsaken immortal clan members before us that are giving offerings to their ancestral spirit. Let me think. I remember the first generation Suzaku studying a spell that could use the ancestral spirit to absorb some of the mysterious power. I am getting old, and my memory is getting worse. I think this is correct. Wang Lin, give me a celestial jade. As Wang Lin looked into the distance, he slapped the other bag of holding, took out a celestial jade, and handed it to Situ Nan. Situ Nan took the celestial jade, and in one breath of time sucked it dry to the point that it shattered. His eyes were filled with celestial spiritual energy as he said, I remember the first generation Suzaku saying that this spell had a fatal weakness. Although that weakness is kind of annoying for me right now, I should be able to avoid it. Wang Lin, wait for me here. I'll be right back. With that, he disappeared. When Situ Nan appeared and scared Zhukazi away, all of the ascendant cultivators felt that powerful aura. A white-robed old man appeared in the sky east of the country of Suzaku. He was the only ascendant cultivator of the Heavenly Jade sect, Chu Yunfei. At this moment, his expression was unsettled. After a while, he let out a sigh and said, a very powerful aura. He slightly shook his head. As he looked to the east, his eyes became cold. Behind him was several dozen cultivators. Most of them were at the soul formation stage, and only 3 of them were at the soul transformation stage. Behind these people were more than 100 nascent soul cultivators. In the sky south of the continent of Suzaku was a cultivation army of more than 100 cultivators that was flying south. The person at the front was a middle-aged man. He was the Shattering Earth Sect's ascendant cultivator. He bitterly smiled and said, unlucky for me to get mixed into such a messy war period. After Zhukazi returned to Mount Suzaku, he rested for a bit before quickly leaving again. This time his target was in the western side of the Suzaku continent. In the black clouds on the eastern edge of the Suzaku continent, the 5th ancestor gloomily withdrew his gaze. The corpse sect elder Sima with his soul transformation cultivation couldn't detect the change that occurred when Situ Nan appeared, but when he saw this 5th ancestor's expression become ugly, he couldn't help but be surprised. He was just about to probe for information when the 5th ancestor waved his sleeves and said, Elder Sima, let us start. Sima's eyes lit up and he laughed. Good. The reason I came here was to deliver this corpse. It could make your forsaken immortal clan ancestor spirit tree flourish even more. With that, he turned around to look at the 2 corpse deacons behind him. Without a word, the 2 deacons got off the coffin and began to form seals. Strands of spirit